Hello, we're back.
Mm-hmm. Hi. Hello.
Now the mics are on now. Hit the button again. Hit the button.
Oh, jeez. Hold on. Hard reset. The one I couldn't hear it. I was like, "What
I gotta remember that. I gotta do a checklist.
the fucker?"
Hey man, it's the work in progress here. You look like a ghost.
Here I am. Okay.
Hit the button.
It's a little low.
Well then turn it off, fool.
Yeah, it's all the way up. It's a little wanky.
I
I
think
don't
what
know.
it's doing is it's blocking it from peaking.
Yeah. No, I think I'll tell you about it later.
Are we
Yeah.
learning?
Welcome back.
Yo yo yo.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Hey
I don't know.
everybody. I didn't die. I didn't die. I'm
By
here.
all the
I'm
bread.
alive and well. I've just been super busy. I moved from my old spot to a new spot, a little more spacious. Got some fast internet, hence the streaming now. Um, Finally using this fucking dope ass gift that everybody got me to its full potential with streaming, with the dope graphics card that's in there, and we're gonna see what it could do. We're pushing the max right now. We're pushing the max,
Pushing the limit.
and my apologies for not coming on for a long, but I love having Eric on, man. It's really dope when you guys get together and talk about what you guys talk about, because you guys are one and the same in some aspects. I think that's pretty
What does
cool.
that even mean?
Like, you guys have similar opinions sometimes about things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we just go back and forth on things, so
Yeah,
we just go there. But it's chemistry. Just
yeah,
like Mike,
definitely.
it's chemistry with me. But that's what it's all about. Chemistry.
I think it would be really dope now that we're getting kind of the hang of doing it on Discord. Now we could maybe do a third person on Discord if
Yeah.
if they're down to do it. So hopefully that will be in the mix pretty soon, and we'll get something going for that. But
Yeah.
without further ado, enough jibber jabber of the introduction. Today's episode is on what, Serge?
Stop motion. Well, scary stop motion movies.
That's
So
right.
we're talking about like not particularly it wouldn't be scary, but it goes into the horror realm. But it's involves like scary creatures that are in stop motion, like Mad Monster Party or Nightmare Before Christmas
Or
or
Coraline.
which he has in the background.
Yeah,
A
right
big
there.
old fucking hint. Look at that.
Yeah, and then also, some honorable mentions we'll be talking about later. But
Yeah.
we want to really just hone it down and talk about some of the very first pictures that were really promoting the Halloween culture, the monster culture, kind of bringing it into its own world and really bringing it to life with stop motion animation, or what they used to call it back in the 60s, animagic. Animagic.
Animagic.
Yes, yes, Cerritos. So, I mean, we got something going on. We got a couple movies to talk about here, so it's going to be a multi-feature kind of deal. So, we're going to be covering a lot of different movies. We're going to do them in chronological order, so you know kind of what we're talking about.
Yep.
And before we do anything, I think we got to talk about what we talk about best here on the Golden Craft Cast, besides entertainment, is the beers.
He is.
The beers, what we
He
say
is.
cheers.
Yep.
So, what
So
do we got?
what are you reporting? Because I'm reporting this and
What is that? Oh, okay. I was looking at that one. I
yeah.
saw a I saw one of those at
I don't think we had
Total
these.
Wine. I
Yeah,
saw
I
one
just
of those at Total Wine, and it was the last pack, and I saw so many packs. I was just like, whatever. I'll get a
yeah,
pack.
yeah. When you see it so much in Total Wine, you just like, oh,
Skim
it's always
over it.
yeah, it's gonna be stuck in stock forever. But
Yeah, and it's
no,
there was literally nothing left when I went. There was only
yeah,
one pack, and the pack was opened. So I
yeah.
was just like, damn.
I just got a single. Oh no, I got two of the single ones. I
Okay.
didn't get a pack, but I mean, I'm just trying to save some money here. Cause I got another beer coming up, but
How much was that beer over there in San Francisco?
this,
Yeah,
uh, I would
like
have
rough
to.
estimate, rough estimate.
Honestly, I think this is the most highest that I got out of my inventory. I think
Oh
there's like
shit.
two yeah. If you want cheap beer or if you
Well, I mean,
want,
how much was it? Like $5, $8?
yeah, I just said like three.
Oh, $3? Oh, that's not bad.
I think it's
By
like
the
three.
single.
Yeah.
I
If
got.
anything, yeah. Let me just say this. If anything, it costs a lot to be up here, especially if you go to the liquor stores. Don't go to your liquor stores. Always go to Total Wine. It's much cheaper on your bucks. So yeah.
And you live pretty close
Oh,
by, don't you?
yeah, pretty much.
That's
Like
perfect.
yeah, because I went to the liquor store like a few weeks. It was the first few weeks that I was here. I went to the liquor store and I bought like a tall boy of like 805. That
Uh huh.
shit cost me 450.
Four
Like,
fifty.
yeah, I was like, nah, never again.
Damn, that's like a one of those 32s of Modelo is like $5. It's about that much.
Yeah,
You
pretty
know?
much. Like, I
That's
paid,
crazy.
there's a lot to, yeah, like I never remember paying that much when I was at home. I was like,
Yeah, well, that's inflation,
25.
baby. That's inflation. I got this pack. It roughed out around, I think, $13, $12, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's from Black Plague Brewing, Oceanside, California. It's called Bring Out Your Dead.
Bring out your dad.
Bring out your dead.
Yeah, I was
Bring
thinking of
out your
getting
dead.
Black Plague. Oh, actually, funny thing. Yesterday, I had a gig in Stanford, and they were having like a whole Halloween type of party,
Uh huh.
and they had um, it was welcome to like family members and like people that go to school there, and they had a contest, a costume contest, and there was a little kid that literally dressed like a fucking plague doctor.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And we were just like, dude, that's the most fucking awesome costume we ever seen.
Yeah, but that little kid was like, I wanted to be a race car. I wanted to be Lightning McQueen. And he's like,
Yeah.
no, you're going to win us this contest.
Yeah, they look cool. His dads were like, I think it was one of his dad's ideas for that shit. So I was like,
Definitely, bro. He doesn't have no fucking clue what that shit is.
yeah,
He's
he's
like,
just like
I'm a bird.
he's
You know?
just like just play along with me. I was like, all right.
All right, Dad. You promise
I
you're
was,
going to get me that candy, aren't you?
yeah. I also saw Baby Yoda too.
Of course. They're going to
Yeah,
do that shit.
I know.
Oh, man. So, all right. So let's take a sip of this and then we'll jump straight into it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Let's give it a crack, baby.
Ooh, I hope you heard that live. It is a beautiful sound,
There was a
not live. It's like
mine was a
that's the play coming out.
ooh IPA. Wow, that's really good when it's cold. It's almost creamy. It almost has like a creamy kind of taste for an IPA.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You already took a sip? The
Yeah.
hell?
Cheers to the
Oh,
craft, buddy.
I had a clean sound effect. Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
It's pretty low. Yeah, cheers.
You got it. You finally got the clink, huh?
It's a little low. Oh, mm, 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 mm,
Mmm.
mm.
Does it taste
Crisp.
like pumpkin spice?
Yep. I'm like talking. I was like, but yeah, like, and then it just like hit me. It was like Christmas. Actually, fucking tastes like Christmas.
It tastes like
Spice,
Christmas, more Christmas than Halloween, huh?
maybe. I don't know. It's like evened out. It's like a Nightmare Before Christmas. It's a little.
Oh, míralo, míralo, making references. There we go.
There we go. Let's do this.
All right, sweet man. So first on the roster, we got a movie that's near and dear to my heart. A movie that I grew up with. since I was a little kid and not a lot of people knew it.
I don't know
Whenever
it.
I would mention it to people, they'd be like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And I'd be like, "You don't know that movie? You don't know that movie?" But it's like literally one of the coolest fucking stop motion animation movies early in the '60s, made from the same people that did Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Um, and basically, these two guys were in charge of not only coming up with some of the music and some of the lyrics and stuff for the music, but they worked on all the animations, the storyboards, and all this. And it fucking ended up being a really cool movie. The movie that I'm talking about is Mad Monster Party.
Yeah, yeah. I just barely heard about this movie like not too long ago. You told me about it.
Can you give us some background of the creators?
I mean, I don't have that information on me right now.
Yeah, the
All I,
creators.
all I know is from the same makers as the all your favorite Christmas movies.
Yep.
Got it?
Yeah, I'm looking at. It's so like it's literally it's like a Penn and Teller. It's like a name that's like it's two of them go together. It's Harvey Kurtzman, Mad Magazine creator Harvey Kurtzman did the character design for it, and
No.
then Jack Davis designed many of the characters, and then there was a script by the screenplay was by Len Korobin and Harvey Kurtzman, produced by Arthur Rankin and Bass. There you go, Rankin and Bass.
Ask, yeah.
Rankin and Bass Productions, and they're the same guys that did Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, all that stuff. I literally watched a little documentary about 2 weeks ago on Mad Monster Party,
Yeah.
and it
Like
huh?
was it like 10 minutes long or some shit?
It was like a two-part or something like that. But
Okay. I was gonna watch
basically, go
it.
ahead.
No, sorry. I just mentioned that I saw it when I was watching the movie 'cause I watched it on YouTube
Yeah,
and I was thinking of watching it, but I should have watched it.
it's pretty cool. There's like this
Okay.
redheaded nerd that's like all about it, all about Rankin Bass, and he
Yeah.
made like a whole like a book that's basically Rankin Bass Productions, and he accumulated a bunch of archived files from the
Yeah.
movie from the first development stages up to pictures of the final production. And it I like they have a website to this day, bro. It's crazy because the base it's crazy. This is what's really crazy. The base of where it's at, like where it was located, was actually originally not too far from where I live now. Like literally, like down the block.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's in the city that I'm in now. It's not too far, but basically, like, it's not there anymore. I looked it up. It's not there. It's like a Chick-fil-A now.
Yeah, of
So,
course.
but back in the day, it was like an actual studio, and like this was like the base for all of the stuff that they had going on for it. But I went onto the website and I tried to buy like a T-shirt, and everything was out. Everything was sold out, but the website was still live. So I
Yeah.
was like, "What the heck? Like that's kind of weird." And then I looked up the address, and the address was a Chick-fil-A. So I'm like, "What the hell is going on here? Like, what are they doing?" You know?
As you, yeah.
But you want to talk about the movie a little bit?
Yeah. So I guess the premise of the movie is Dr. Frankenstein, he's about to give up the cape and pretty much like um give up his pretty much like pass over like his reigns. So he invites all his friends, which are Dracula, the werewolf, the mummy, Jekyll and Hyde, uh, the
Invisible
creature,
Man,
the creature from the Blue Lagoon,
Black
and
Lagoon,
yeah, all those motherfuckers. And
King Kong.
basically, basically, like we'll talk about that one. That came out of nowhere. Um, yeah, basically all those motherfuckers, and he invites them to this party in which he was going to announce that, but also he was going to announce that he's going to give his reins over to not a scary monster, but just an ordinary, how would I say it?
His nephew,
His nephew.
an ordinary guy or kid or something.
No, he has some quirks in him. He's how would I describe him? He's sort of a dweeb, I would say.
He's a nerd. He's a big pharmacy
He's a
nerd.
big
He
old
works at the
farm.
farm. He works at a nerd, but he's also a klutz too. So
Yeah,
that kind of puts the switch
there
on
you
it.
go. Yeah, I was thinking about that word. Yeah, he's not what you expect, and basically, mayhem ensues as soon as they discover that Dr. Frankenstein's going to give the reins to an ordinary dude, and a lot of crazy things happen while they're at this island where they were going to meet, where they're meeting at, and yeah, a bunch of things will happen, but we'll talk about that because we're trying to get into it. You know, we'll spoil when we come to it.
One cool thing about this that a lot of people don't know is Boris Karloff actually does the voice for Dr.
Yeah.
Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Those of you that are monster fans, you know, like that dude is the original Frankenstein. So,
Hmm.
I mean, he really brings that whole ominous kind of vibe to the character. And, I mean, it's freaking awesome. Like, the voices in it, most of them are done by Alan Swift. And he basically took a lot of characters from, like, the 19, I want to say, like, really early movies, like 50s and maybe even like 30s. And he
What?
took these actors' voices, Alan Swift. He took these actors' voices and then like made them into characters in the movie. So he did a lot of the voices for Dracula, like the nephew. Um, he did them for like the Invisible Man. To just different. There's like a plethora of characters that he ended up doing the voice for. So that's how they actually saved a lot of money on this. But
So one guy doing the creatures. That's crazy.
yeah, so one of the interesting things about this is Rankin Bass, like they actually were biters, dude, because they saw this form of animation in um, Japan. It's called animagic, right? Stop
Yeah.
motion animation. They basically saw how it was all made, came from America, and were like, "Hey, we need you guys to help us do this movie." So what they did was they went to the United States. They like drew up all the storyboards, made the whole story for it, and basically sent this movie over to be made in Japan. So like a lot of the stuff that's made, a lot of the sets, basically all the models and sets and stuff were done by Japanese people. It wasn't
Huh.
in America. So like that's why like I feel some of the um small little details in the faces and some of the things that are like a little bit off timing because I feel like maybe Japanese people weren't used to the what do you whatchamacallit, like the what's the word I'm looking for? Like the
What do you mean?
small gestures and stuff that Americans might make, you know? But they were
Oh,
pretty on point.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, they wouldn't get like the same things that are American. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
They wouldn't get like some of the jokes that Americans do. It wouldn't translate well into Japan.
Yeah.
You know, so they can't.
I feel like
Uh,
a little bit of the comedic timing was a little weird, but dude, it's regardless, like it's fucking great. Like the humor in it is actually pretty sophisticated compared to other movies, right?
yeah,
It's not just fart jokes. It's no fart jokes. It's all like top quality puns and stuff like that.
yeah. I felt like it was like Hanna-Barbera
Yeah.
comedy, but a little. Well, yeah, Hanna-Barbera actually does do like innuendos and little jokes here and there,
Yeah.
and you know, things they could get away with. But yeah, I definitely got like that vibe too. Um, and I would say like I'll probably talk about this further in the episode, but the thing about stop motion is that they're pretty much like timeless. You know, like you can't really tell like what year it came out if you were to look at them. With this one, you the only reason you could tell is because of it kind of dates it because of the music that they play. It's like
Yeah.
very like 60s type of thing, and then you know some of the style of it, it's just like, oh, that looks like it came from the 60s, you know?
Yeah, the music and lyrics were by Mari Laws and Jules Bass. So yeah, so Bass did actually do some of the music and stuff like that.
Nice.
So but if you listen to the music, it sounds really dope because it's like almost like James Bondy kind of,
Yeah, that's
really
why.
James Bond esque, and
60s James Bond is just like you could tell.
I mean
Yeah.
the that song that they play in the beginning, the main song, I love that song. Like that's my favorite Halloween song because it's like it's spooky. It sounds spooky, but it still sounds like cool James Bondy. And then you have the soul of a black woman singing on there, which
Yeah.
is Ethel Ennis. And they've remade this that song multiple times on like different albums and stuff, but it
Yeah.
does not sound the same as the original. Like the original definitely sounds the best. I wanted to try to find the actual album for it, but it doesn't exist. That's how rare this shit is. Like
Oh,
it
really?
does not exist. Like they have a CD for it now, but back in the day they don't have an actual record, like a pressed record with this song on it, and that kind of makes me sad because I think it would sound so much better on vinyl. But that's just
Yeah.
me, you know.
You know, it's because it wasn't that popular, so they didn't see any like records on like, oh, they like the music. If they like the music, they will make a whole album out of it and just release it like that.
And that's what's crazy is because when they first came out with this, they thought, oh, like these animagic movies, they look really cool. Like let's try to produce one of these. Obviously, they did the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, but they said, hey, let's do a Halloween one because
Yeah.
in the '60s, this was made in 1967. So in the '60s, like the monster craze was really going out and about. So everybody was all about Dracula and Frankenstein
Yeah.
and all these different like monster characters. Think about the monsters.
Yeah.
Think about Abbott and Costello and stuff like that. These were all movies that were made kind of surrounding all these different Universal
You're right.
monsters, and this was a way that they could kind of tie them all together, which is really dope. And I really think Adam Sandler kind of took the idea of Mad Monster Party and turned that into Hotel Transylvania.
Yeah. I get the thought process on that.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's
Yeah.
very like you kind of
Very,
see them all travel there. They all get there in their different modes of transportation. You kind of see that in Mad Monster Party. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just drawing conclusions here, maybe, but
very just my conclusion.
I really think that this movie, to people that really do appreciate stop motion animation and like stuff like that, it does stand out because there wasn't that many monster movies, or I mean, obviously there's a lot of monster movies that are made with stop motion animation before them, but there wasn't a lot of like kid friendly stop motion animation movies, that were like fun for the whole family kind of deal.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, did this came out after or before um Rudolph?
This came out after, I believe.
It was after?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. For some reason I thought it was gonna be before, because I don't know why I thought about that. Because I've seen some of the animation, it feels like a little rough, and
Mm-hmm.
I could have sworn like Rudolph was actually a little bit more fluid and just very well put together. But I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was 1964.
okay, for sure. So they
Yeah, so
redo.
this was 1967. 3 years later, they had their chops. They had the money to fly over to Japan and, kind of do the thing.
Yeah,
So, I mean, but you can see in the behind the scenes him working alongside Japanese people that are just like making all the little, sewing all the little jackets, making all the little chairs, making all these little like intricate things. And I'm just like, damn, bro, like they put a lot of thought and preparation to all these scenes. Um, Unfortunately, a lot of the original monsters and stuff that they created, because they were limited on the supplies that they had back then, and a lot of it would deteriorate in like different temperatures and stuff like that, so none of them now are really intact. But I think some of the set pieces are, I think, from back in the day, but a lot of the original artwork that was made from the dude that did Mad Magazine still exists, and like it's in the book and stuff like that, like his drawings of the different monsters and his concept art for Mad Monster Party.
yeah. definitely.
Yeah, it's pretty tight.
Yeah,
Um, what else should we talk about? Top twos?
I mean, we should talk about why you like this movie specifically.
Okay. Well, I mean, aside from it being more like something that was passed down in my family, I really drew attraction to it because of the music. I really like the music and the kind of the direction that they went with the James Bondy feel. Really vintage, really dope. Lyrics in the songs are really cool. I mean, there's some that are like really catchy, like show tunes almost. But that main one, I still love, you know. And then um, just the fact that it was kind of on the adult side, not as kid friendly as Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, you know.
Yeah,
And there was a lot of, like you said, like Hanna Barbera, like comedic kind of plot twists and stuff here and there, and you know things were going on, and there's sexual innuendos, and it's just like it's a lot different than Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer for sure.
yeah,
You know, so that's why I think, and I mean just the way it looks, it looks so vintage, it looks so cool. Like, you know, you can see all these monsters and see the shapes of everything and the shadows from going from everywhere, and just kind of like the time that they put to make it. I really appreciate, you know, like back in this time they were able to like superimpose. They composited two different images of film and stop motion animation to do like the glowing vial scene, for example. You know,
yeah,
like composited a giant explosion. You know, um, I mean the way the water looks even is really trippy. You know, I know if you watch this on like shrooms or something, you'd be like, "What the hell is going on?"
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But I mean, all in all, dude, I really like the stop motion animation look of it, and it's one of the first of its kind, like kind of leading the way for stop motion animation monster movies.
yeah, definitely. It's this is my first time watching it. Like I said, uh, I thought it was like I definitely liked it because I think as an adult I do enjoy it because you know, again the jokes like pretty much hit and it's like you understand who everyone is and you understand the traits of like Frankenstein, the mummy, and all that, and they kind of play trope, not trope, but more of like a joke on their traits. You know,
Yeah,
like you have Dracula, who's gonna suck, but he gets a little too cocky, and then every time he tries to like fight the guy, he just fails and it fails, and it's just like sort of like a slapstick comedy type of
yeah,
deal, you know, and and just like the cheesy lines that they do, because like they are playing with these characters, they're playing with like what they can get away with. Like I think one of my favorite bits was he um what was his nephew's name? I keep forgetting. But
uh,
basically, the nephew was with like Dr. Jekyll,
yeah.
and he basically just like turns himself into Hyde. They were chatting about something, and then he turns into Hyde, and then he just turns into this Hyde monster, and all he can say is Hyde, Hyde,
Hide,
Hyde,
hide.
Hyde, Hyde, and then you have the guy saying like, "Oh, Hyde, oh, it seems like you're back to normal, so it kind of seems like you want to play hide and seek, Hyde, Hyde."
Yeah,
Like, stupid little shit like that, but that's its charm right there, It's the quirkiness that really sold it to me, and you could appreciate that type of humor nowadays, because they don't make movies like this anymore, I would say. And I definitely like seeing like all the classic horror movies, monsters, because I mean everyone grew up with it, or at least people that really like movies grew up with it, and you get to see like this super cheesy, very like sitcom type of style version of these monsters all coming together. You know, this is a time before.
woo.
Bless you, son.
Thank you, sir.
There's a time before there was any like cinematic universes or any like Marvel property or any like fuck, dare I say it, the dark universe that they try to do in Universal.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, this
and
this was kind of the kid version, right?
yeah, this is it just smashes everyone together, and they don't particularly like fight other villains in that sense or come together for a noble cause. It's just, you know,
They're all kind of out for it for themselves.
yeah, it's a funny occasion coming all together, you know. I will say, like, I really enjoyed the story because the story was like pretty interesting the way that it was structured. Because you have this whole half where he's bringing in like, all his friends. All these guys are villains, right? But the true villain of the movie is, Francesca, the lady that's trying to like get um the reins from Dr. Frankenstein, because she's like the assistant. And that big part is just like of her having to turn on them, and then eventually the villains turn on her, and then you have this whole second half where like basically it's the nephew and her having to escape the monsters, and then that's when you really see them as villains,
Yeah,
as well as like having to bring other monsters like King Kong who came out of nowhere. I mean, they kind of teased it like, oh, we have to get off this island because there's something, off about this island. And, plot twist, they're actually in, the King Kong Island, or Skull Island, I guess.
yeah,
Because everything's tropical and there's like faunas, there's like, you know, giant, um, giant flycatchers and stuff. And you're just like, oh, it's a little weird of an island. And it's like, okay, well, it turns out it's Skull Island, or, it's King Kong's Island in that sense. And they all, and I guess I will like say about the end how it all ends. Basically, I think Dr. Frankenstein knew that this would happen once everyone like was gonna turn on each other.
yeah.
So he did the noble thing and blew up the fucking island and saved his nephew.
That's like basically the end of the movie. But I mean, I just read something interesting. It said right here on IMDb, in order to keep the expenses down, the film's producers did not want to pay for royalty fees to use the names King Kong, the Frankenstein monster, the Bride of Frankenstein, Quasimodo, and the creature from the Black Lagoon. That's why
Okay.
many of the characters, though recognizable, are called different names. So like
Yeah.
King Kong is called It, the Frankenstein monster is Fang, the Bride of Frankenstein is the monster's mate.
Yeah.
Quasimodo is called the Hunchback. And then Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, Invisible Man, and Count Dracula were already public domain, so they were able to use those for free, basically.
Yeah. There you go. IPs, man.
That freaking explains a lot, dude.
Yeah, that does. Because I was wondering, like, why was it called like Frankenstein's mate? You can't really say like, oh, like, why couldn't it be like bride?
Yeah,
I was like, okay, I think it might have been a property thing. So,
yeah,
we
definitely
kind
a
of did.
property thing. But
That's-
yeah. So I mean, do you want to talk about top two scenes?
Yeah, top two scenes. Um, you want me to go first?
Yep.
Okay. My top scene is basically when this character, because there's this one character. What's his name? Don Julio. He's like one of the freaking I think it was one of the servers or something.
Yeah, the moon guy. He has like a moon head looking guy.
Yeah, he's like pasty, and then
Yeah.
he has like a
You
little
mean
Mexican going on.
Yetch?
Is it Yetch?
Yeah,
I don't know why I thought Don
it's
Julio.
Yetch.
Yeah,
He has like a bow tie.
yeah, it
Yeah.
does. At first I thought it was Igor. I mean,
Kind of like
I
being like that.
yeah, I think it would got that sense of him being close to that. Um, yeah, I fucking like that character.
That
I
character
don't
is
know
freaking
what it is.
hilarious.
He's like he's so fucking funny. It's just like the way he just talks is just like God.
Ooh,
And then
Francesca, your
he falls in
kisses,
love.
they send me to the moon.
Save me to the moon.
Yeah. And he goes,
Getting
whoop.
flipped by freaking because he gets flipped by King Kong. Right before he was about to touch Francesca, and he's like, "Oh, your kisses makes me feel like I'm going to the moon." I can't do the accent well, but
That's just stupid.
Um,
He's funny
yeah,
though. He's a good one.
it's fucking funny because when he meets Francesca, he was just like, she's kind of disgusted by him. Was like, "Ah, get away from me, you creep."
Yeah.
He's like, "You call me a creep, so I'm gonna creep," and he creeps away, himself away.
Oh my god.
God, I have that clip.
Shit's stupid, but yeah. You have the clip?
Dude, it's not working. I'll put it in there.
That's funny. Yeah,
Yeah,
no. I mean that shit was hilarious.
yeah, yeah. I really like that part because he just establishes that character, and right after
He's a
that,
creep.
right after that, I was like, oh my God. But I love it every interaction after that scene because yeah, he's I would say not he's not a klutz, but he's pretty much a little dork, you
Yeah.
know. And it's funny the situations he gets to, especially when the interaction with the Italian chef.
Oh yeah, that's a good
Basically,
one.
like he basically
Get
like
out of my kitchen.
get out of my kitchen, and he throws the fucking knife like um all around his body into like it created like a tear in the wall, and then he basically falls through the fucking wall.
That's so stupid. But that's good. That's common. That's like some
Yeah,
cartoon slapstick.
plastic shit. Yeah, exactly. So it's those moments that I just find funny. Oh, sorry, that was like one of like two scenes. I
Yeah,
guess. I guess those are my top two. I don't know.
that was a good scene.
Yeah.
Uh I want to say that my favorite scene is, oh man, the very beginning when all of them start coming from like using different modes of transportation to get over to Frankenstein's castle. So they all receive the invitation, right? So
Mhm.
it's like you see them all like preparing to leave and like go over there. So like you see like the creature is like in the water and he ends up like going in the water and swimming his way over there, you know. Dracula and the Invisible Man, they end up taking like a ship to get over there, along with like I think Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was on there and the werewolf was on there. So it's like this whole scene happens on the boat with all of them, you know, like before them even getting to the island. So it's just pretty interesting how all these characters interact with each other. Some of them know each other already, you
Yeah.
know, and are interacting with each other before they even get there. So it's pretty cool to see like some of the people that know each other, like the characters that know each other and why they know each other and how they kind of joke around with each other. And just, I mean, they were able to do fog in that scene, which is really challenging to do stop motion animation wise. But yeah, that
Yeah.
shit was really cool. So yeah, definitely the main intro part. That's where they played the theme song, and everybody's getting the letter of just like Dr. Frankenstein inviting them to the castle. That's just awesome. And then I gotta say, my second favorite scene is the dining room scene where they start dancing. It's like they have this song called "Do the Mummy," so it's like "Do the Mummy, do the
Yeah.
Mummy," like kind of like Wooly Bully style, kind of a little bit, but
Yeah, it's in that territory. Yeah.
it's like a bunch of skeletons singing the song, and it's like a skeleton rock band just like wailing out. And then
Um,
like havoc ensues at the dinner party, and Yetch's head gets thrown in like the punch bowl or some shit like that. But like, I don't know what happens. It ends up being like a freaking fight that goes down, and they're all like fighting around, and like they're all like using their abilities and stuff, kind of to like defeat each other. Well, just like I don't know, they just like are roughhousing.
yeah, they really get into it physically. It's cool.
Yeah, I thought that was dope. That's one of
That
my
whole
favorite scenes for sure.
yeah, that band was fucking funny. I thought it
Yeah,
was the Rolling Stones at first, but
yeah. Kind of look like with the haircuts, right?
I think that might have been the joke. It's like all of them were all fucking skinny. They're basically bones.
Yeah,
Skinny. Well, they're
the
all
long
bones.
ass hair.
Long ass hair. I
But
like after the fight, he just like one of them gets mad. He's like, I thought I was supposed to. I forgot what he said, but between the lines, he said like, I thought I was supposed to get paid or some shit, and he just like walks off all angry and stuff. 'Cause it was really bad gig for
he's
him.
like, "This is some bullshit."
Yeah, I know along those lines, but yeah,
That's funny. Yeah, that shit was definitely cool, man. I just liked how that song came on, and then they started dancing. And then one thing I ended up learning after watching that little documentary thing was
dancing.
Um, I guess they actually were looking at a famous dancer when they were animating the storyboard and got dances from this famous dancer and try to do like scenes of them, like basically a storyboard of him dancing. And it really didn't translate well because um, when these Japanese people got, all the storyboard, they couldn't see exactly how the person was dancing. So they kind of riffed it. They kind of did their own thing on how they wanted to dance, how they wanted to dance in that scene. So it's pretty cool, you know.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, definitely the one of my favorite scenes right there. And then that also leads into the scene where Francesca, like the plot unfolds when she's talking to Dracula and stuff like that, and they're trying to figure out, like, oh, they're gonna give, the nephew all of the stuff. They're gonna give him, like, he's gonna pass him on all his experiments and all that shit. So they're
yeah,
kind of like Francesca and Dracula are already trying to like plot to like kill him. I think, right? Yeah, they're plotting to kill this fool. So
yeah. Basically, and yeah,
yeah,
it's funny.
it gets pretty intense in some parts, but I mean, obviously, it's like it's cartoony, so it's not like drastic, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's meant for laughs and stuff. Oh fuck, we didn't even mention that, but the when they started dancing, everyone started showing their moves, even Hunchback,
Yeah,
who basically I started cracking up. I was like, damn, that's just so funny. Because just the jerky movement is what fucking sells it, you know? It's like, he's gonna get down. He's like, it's like jerky.
yeah.
So it really sells it, like using that advantage of using that
The stop
uh,
motion animation.
to just make it even more comical than it is, you know?
Yeah,
But yeah, kudos to that. That shit was pretty cool.
I mean that shit was. I mean, it's just cool to see, monsters and scary stuff in these stop motion animation things because it's like it gives these real textures that people are used to, but puts them in a sense that it's like it's not like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer where it's all fluffy and everything's nice and shiny and
Yeah.
it's like more of like dark and like stone cold and like chains, and you get metal textures, and you get wooden textures, and you get like the fur from the monsters, and it's really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, you go in the opposite direction of
Yeah.
what the office, really.
I
But
really
sorry, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say I really think that's why Halloween movies are really good and accepted in the stop motion animation format because the textures really sell it. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. It's also just the jerkiness of like that movement kind of makes things a little unhingy, just a little bit, or but the fluidity is just, it's unique.
Yeah,
So that's why we have like Nightmare Before Christmas, because you can make weird shit out of that, make a model that's pretty weird and uncanny.
yeah,
That the movement would actually match, the design of it. Like it would look exactly if it moved. It was
right.
just like, you know,
Are we transitioning now? I think
yeah,
that's the
let's try this
transition.
over right there.
All right. Well, one last thing about Mad Monster Party. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's on Amazon Prime. That's where I got it. It was only like $5 or something like that. But to rent it, it's only three
Right.
bucks. And I think it's on YouTube too for free. So you check that out. You
Yeah,
know, definitely
check it out
check that out if you haven't seen it. Show your niece and nephew. That shit's awesome. All right,
right there.
moving forward, going into one of
Nightmare.
my favorites, one of everyone's favorites,
Everyone's favorites at this point.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas came out in '93. Not directed by Tim Burton. A lot of people have the misconception that it's directed by Tim Burton because Tim Burton literally puts his name on that shit. It says Tim Burton's A Nightmare Before Christmas. But that's the thing. It was directed by Henry Selick, who we'll talk about later, but he made another movie. A couple, actually, a couple stop motion movies. I think that's what he's known for, really. And after watching this movie and then watching another movie from him, I could see what's his and I could see what's like um uh Tim Burton's like vision of this because a lot of people like again misconception. I really think it's both his movie and Tim Burton's movie,
Mm-hmm.
really, because you get to see a lot of like little traits here and there of of like his movies and then also like Tim Burns' style. Because all the designs, they're all like by Tim Burton. It all comes from his head. You know, if you were to look at like early designs, because Tim Burton was actually an animator for Disney. That's how he started off. And a lot of his illustrations were very much like, characters from like Nightmare Before Christmas, stripes and, dysmorphic bodies and just weird looking characters that it's it's a unique animation, and you really do see it in this movie and it shines. And again, this is a movie that you don't even know what if no one were to know what year it came out, you wouldn't know what year it actually came out. It doesn't date like 1993. It dates oh, I thought it got made like in the 2000s or maybe the 80s, but it doesn't look that old.
Yeah, 80s definitely, I think.
Yeah. It doesn't look that. It doesn't even it doesn't. It's not dated. Is what I'm trying to say out of
Well, I
it.
think, I mean, think about, when it was re-released, I think for the special edition, they extended the frame, right? So it became wide. They were able to do widescreen with it.
Yeah,
So I wonder, how exactly what they shot it with, because they were able to expand it. They were able to do widescreen with it,
yeah,
So, I mean, obviously you see a lot more in the frame than you would have in the 80s, you know?
yeah,
Even in the 90s too, when they re-released it, it was full screen basically in the 90s, and then I think early 2000s when they started switching over to widescreen, they re-released it and now we could see it in widescreen. But I mean, that's what's cool about it. They thought about that shit beforehand, before even doing this. Like, this movie I think took 10 years to fully develop and release.
yeah,
So they spent a lot of fucking time creating sets, creating all these little heads of, every single vowel for each of these different, characters, and they wanted to make them look perfect, So they put a lot of time and effort into one character. They did a bunch of different heads for one character. I think Jack had over like fuck, like I want to say like 300 different different heads.
yeah. Along with a lot of characters that were there.
Something crazy like that. It was like a lot
Yeah,
of freaking heads that they ended up using with them. But I mean, just it's so iconic. All these different characters stand apart from a lot of the movies that you see in normal, kid movies. A lot of
yeah,
these character designers, I feel, design something that may be appealing to an audience. Well, I think Tim Burton kind of threw that shit out the window and was like, let's make them creepy. Let's make everyone like creepy. Let's make them all like look weird and out of place. So you really do see that in him, in his designs for this. I mean, for what it was worth, but I mean, yeah, there's a
yeah.
lot to talk about. There's a lot to unpack in this kind of movie because it is also a Christmas movie. Let's not forget.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just the basic plot line and story idea for this was just something that has never been done before. They never have done anything like that. So I really feel that's why it's so unique and stands apart from a lot of the other stop motion animation movies to this day, it uses something we're all familiar with, two things that we're both familiar with, the holidays, and then kind of crosses them in some weird way that, you just kind of gotta scratch your head about it and be like, that was actually really cool. It's like
Uh-huh.
you don't I don't think anybody walks away from this movie or after watching this movie is like, what the fuck was that? Like I'm mad about watching that. I think it's more appreciation for the fact that it was a successful movie. There are some parts where it's like there's some plot holes for me in the movie.
Mm.
But I mean, it's the fun of it. It's the joy ride of this movie. You know, you really get into it and you see, you know, obviously Jack Skellington, he's the main dude throwing these big Halloween events. He's the one in charge of making Halloween the greatest possible thing. He's the Pumpkin King.
It's a pump.
And they just finished Halloween. He's looking for a new thrill. He's bored and he wants to do something different. Gets all depressed, wanders through the forest, finds holiday trees. What the fuck is that about? Um, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then it like falls into Christmas. And I mean, just to think about all this and to imagine these ideas is just fucking in a world of its own. Who knows what the fuck Tim Burton was on when he was like thinking about all this shit. But he ended up going into Christmas Town, finds a new holiday, and wants to use that new holiday as Halloween, kind of like he wants to take a hand in it now because he likes it so much.
In one way or another, he wants to conquer what is like um Christmas. I just thought about this, but it's sort of like a little bit of colonialism in that sense. I don't know where I'm going with this.
Right. No,
He
I
just
get
like,
it. Yeah, it's like
just like
colonialism.
he's seen something, a different culture, and he wants to like make it his own. It's just like this guy just shows up out of nowhere and just wants to do everything in which he think with his good intentions to do so, but he fails at the end of the day.
It's
People are
cultural appropriation.
not it's not his culture,
Holiday cultural appropriation.
fucking it up. Yeah, it's appropriation.
Oh
I
my
think
god, you hit the fucking nail on the head, my dude.
sorry, it's because I've been dealing with like that topic. Something's happened in my
No, but
uh
I mean you're right, dude. It is the appropriation of one holiday that has nothing to do with the other holiday and trying to make it your own holiday. Obviously, it doesn't go well. We've learned this,
yeah,
because
exactly.
what happens in Night Before Christmas? They end up fucking like making bat toys and like dead animals into like stuff for children,
Yeah,
and
it's not translating well. We're gonna go back, but yeah.
you know,
What was I gonna say? I I think the best thing I like about this movie is that it's it's two things that are completely opposite of each other, and for some reason it works. But in
yeah.
in the story context, it doesn't work. So it's just like sort of funny to uh be kind of aware or have that layer of like context in that where these two things that are supposed to like
Be
belong with
opposite of each other.
they're just like a little weird, but also very interesting at the same time, you know.
Yeah.
And I think what I've been hearing is that Tim Burton has like this ability to put things that are dark and things that are like very light, like very cheerful or very preppy and
And
stuff.
mix them together.
Mix them together, and of course, this is the perfect blend of this of his trait or
Yeah.
his trait in that
No,
sense.
definitely.
So yeah, I think that's what really attracts me, or like, cause fuck Thanksgiving, fuck Thanksgiving, bro. But
Talk about
between
cultural appropriation.
exactly going with that, it's like fuck that because it's appropriation. But at the same time, I think they're picking a little bit of Thanksgiving and just implementing this into the
Watch, they're
story.
gonna, you know what they're gonna do is in part two of Night Before Christmas is gonna be like, going to Thanksgiving world and be like, what? This is what happened? You know?
He's like, huh? It's gonna be a story of self discovery. He was all like, he's gonna like realize that he was like very wrong about that, and he was an imperialist, and he's all like,
And
well,
he
this
sings
is
a song about it.
And this is wrong. And then he's gonna be the voice of reason in the progressive era. You know,
He's like, he gave it a shot.
he gave it a shot, but at the end of the day, there's a message.
No, he
Core trunk.
goes, well, what the heck? He says like, well, what the heck? I gave it all. I got something, something.
Actually, he says hell.
He
Did you
says
realize
something at the. Oh, he's well, what the hell? I
that?
give it what I got, something like that.
I give it what I got.
And Danny Elfman on that, Jesus, man.
Oh my god.
The music is amazing. To this day, like that's how legendary it is. He performs it every
Yeah.
year. Now that they do that sing along musical thing with Night Before Christmas, dude, he
Now it's
gets to literally re-sing the songs that he created like years and years ago because people love it so much. Like it's so
yeah,
embedded in the Halloween culture now. He performs every Halloween like and makes money off the songs that he wrote 20
yeah.
years ago. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, and he's like the constant collaborator of Tim Burns. It's just like, that's his peak right there for Danny Elfman. I actually listened to Danny Elfman like in an interview.
uh huh,
I fucking love that guy. This guy curses like a fucking sailor. And it's funny because like in this industry, this is what I heard from my professor. He also a big cusser. Um, he says like people who cuss a lot for some reason are just so trustworthy. Don't you guys agree? I was like, and I'm thinking about like Danny Elfman. I was like, it's true. He's been pretty loyal to Tim Burton. And he makes really good music, bro. He's like one of the best out
yeah.
there of the
I mean,
composers.
he's right next to John Williams. You know, when it comes to
Yeah,
movies.
besides like this, yeah, besides like this score, he's known for like the Simpsons score. He's known
Yeah,
for in
Pee Wee's Big Adventures.
yeah, and just most of his movies
Oingo
like
Boingo.
Wingo Wingo. Also freaking what was the recent one that he did? Fuck, I forgot. Oh, yeah, he did the I think his latest one was Doctor Strange. He
Oh,
did the music
really?
Doctor Strange Madness of whatever this
The
fuck
Multiverse of Madness.
Multiverse of Goddamn Madness. Also acronym MOM.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was about mom. It was about
So we kind of went over the plot. We went over about some of the production, like how they went about
oh,
the production.
Spider-Man. He did the theme for Spider-Man, the 2001, the one with Tobey Maguire.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Actually, that makes sense. He used a lot of trumpets. Go kind of that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, very iconic,
Yeah.
you know that shit. But yeah, I didn't learn was that he was actually the singing voice for this movie until
Yeah,
like
he's
4 years
he
later.
sings as Jack.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying I didn't learn about that until like a few years ago. So I just learned about this like recently. It wasn't like I always knew, but I it was very much a surprise because I didn't know he could sing. I was like, here I
Dude,
thought
he sings with Oingo Boingo.
I never saw that.
Yeah, he's in that band. The thing with Danny Elfman, he tried to do music in Hollywood before doing music scores. Somebody had invited him to do a music score and he killed it. And he was like, "Oh, I guess I'm better at this." So then he started doing music scores. So like
Yeah,
that's how he got into the movie business. But before that, he was trying to do like a band. He was trying to like just do music like in a band.
yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, he's performed at Coachella. You know, he
yeah.
did
A
a
lot of
bunch of different stuff.
yeah,
You know that
a lot of
song?
yeah. I know what it.
Running down the drain. That's Danny Elfman, bro. Yeah, you
Oh,
know that song.
I know that song. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Danny Elfman. Crazy, right?
To me, I thought that was a Tom Petty song.
I think he wrote it, or I don't know, something like that. I
No,
know
no, no,
that.
not Tom Petty. I'm sorry. Um,
Tom
but yeah,
Petty.
Tom Petty.
I'm gonna go
Tom
grab another beer. I'll be right back. Keep it going. Tell them where they could find us at.
You can find us here. Yeah, we're live. We're here. Well, we got plenty of beer. Freaking, we're talking about the 99th episode on stop motion animation. Scary stop motion animation because for some reason it blends in well. And, what was I going to say? This is, we're close to our like 100th episode. And, it's been an honor to make it this far. And, we started off like as Golden Craft Run and we turned into Golden Craft Cast. But, the ironic thing about this, as we're streaming on YouTube, we actually started from YouTube. And I feel like we're getting a hang of this. It's all turning around. It's all turning around. We came from YouTube and now we came back to YouTube to do this live.
YouTube. And I think for the last one, we might do that on YouTube.
Yeah, you're right.
I
I
mean,
think it's
100, not the last one, but like I'm leading up to 100.
getting there. But yeah. We've been pulling up episodes on YouTube because since it's a video format, might as well do it.
They did
Bring
different designs on each can. Well, it's like two different ones, I guess. Pretty cool.
totally.
What are your some of your favorite characters in that in Night Before Christmas?
Oh, um, definitely. I think my favorite character might be Sally because she's like she's like a Frankenstein type of monster, and just the way that she just like she gets pulled apart and stuff, and she's using her body to her advantage at one point, and I feel like that's pretty quirky and just like very unique in that sense. And also, she's utilized well in this movie, because she's like the voice of reason,
Yeah,
and that's something that I pretty much respect because essentially she is. She's just like uh, undead thing that she has her own little arc. She's trying to escape like that one doctor, and she has like this understanding of Jack that when he's vulnerable, she's the only one that actually sees through that. Everyone else is just like hailing him and just like, oh,
praising
like,
him for what he does.
yeah, you're the man and stuff. But at the end of the day, like, how does he feel? And she
Yeah,
kind of gets a glimpse of that, and
she
it's
kind of
like
sees through all that.
he relates to that in that sense.
Mm,
You get to see that she's also realizing that I don't think this is right, bringing this Christmas thing. And she also has like the premonition going on for her, so it kind of makes her feel like a little mystical in
yeah,
that sense. But as I watch him more, I appreciate that character.
I
Who,
was
by the
reading something. Go ahead.
by the way, is voiced by uh, God damn it, I already forgot. Catherine O'Hara.
Yes, from
Catherine O'Hara, beautiful voice.
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice, fucking Home Alone. The woman could do it, all
Kevin,
right.
Kevin. Right?
Kevin!
It's crazy because you can't imagine that same person doing the voice for Sally, right?
Yeah,
Like that high anxiety, you know, like the way she is in that movie compared to her voicing Sally is like two different worlds. You know what I'm saying?
she's very
Honestly,
serene and
yeah.
very well put together, I guess.
Um, there was a I was gonna say there was this fan theory thing that I read that was saying that there was a hint of like why Sally's dead, and you could kind of tell like all her limbs are ripped apart, but why are they ripped apart and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Well, remember when she jumps off
yeah,
the side of the building and she like puts herself back together? They're saying
mhm,
like remember when she's like in midair, she's smiling,
yeah.
like meaning that she's kind of used to that. Like that's how she might have ended up, you know,
She killed.
dead.
She
Yeah,
yeah, she killed herself.
yeah,
Yeah,
and maybe that's why she's so empathetic to to Jack and like
yeah.
kind of like,
Oh, it's a total emo thing. Yeah, I
yeah,
get
yeah.
it. Yeah, I feel.
Another thing. Go ahead.
No, no, no.
And I was
But
gonna say another thing that I thought was curious was a lot of people don't notice this, but I noticed this last time I watched the end of the movie
yeah,
when they sing the song together and they're like, "Oh, it's this is how it's meant to be," or so they say something like that, right? And
the
they're like
secret.
together, right? And then at that moment, Zero flies off, like into the moon, like he flies away, and you see like a little like twinkle or something like that. Like
Yeah,
he left Jack, he left him alone. So it's almost like Zero in his past life or whatever wasn't a companion, or wasn't able to fulfill. I feel like Zero's goal there was to help Jack fulfill and get another partner.
it was like his familiar in that sense. Um,
Yeah,
I'm
he was.
also making a connection, like, because the main thing about Beetlejuice, another Tim Burton thing, is um, they basically fulfilled themselves as being like the parents that they needed to be at the end of the movie. So it's like sort of like oh yeah, like they're getting their wings, and eventually they get like the happy ending and stuff. But yeah, actually, now that I'm getting because I think it was like the couple times that I think I was watching this movie like 2 years ago, and I came to the realization that this is my own theory. I'm just gonna point that out, but it is about Zero, and I feel that um they're going for the Rudolph myth, and it feels like what if he was like um damn, how would I word this?
A husky in one of
No,
those.
no, he wasn't no, no, I'm not saying that. What if like the Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, its true origin is because people saw Zero taking his place at the front and thinking like, oh, like I saw Santa Claus, and then they had someone like uh they had a red light that was lighting its way, and people will interpret that like, oh, that's actually a reindeer, but the true story is that it's actually Zero who was a fucking ghost lighting the way,
Huh.
and they made that story of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I don't know if that's making a complete sense, but I'm like thinking about like myth and just like
Well,
you
I can
know
tell you one thing. You're nuts.
yeah, I know.
No, but it was cool how they did that cross referencing, and maybe that was like a tip of the hat,
Yeah,
to Rudolph the Red-Nosed
no,
Reindeer,
definitely. I did see like the little respect for that. The little nod is just like, oh,
Yeah.
we're gonna Rudolph the Red-Nosed. But I don't know. I think I'm a little far fetched on that because I did think of the last time the the moment I realized that I was under the influence, so I was just like kind of overthinking about that one. But
Yeah.
I just feel like I don't know. Maybe instead of like them they probably made up like that story of Rudolph because they actually saw Zero in there. I don't know. I'm just thinking
So
about
you're
origin.
trying to say like
I'm
Rudolph
trying
was
to
the
see,
origin story for like.
yeah, that's basically
So
what
you're
I'm saying.
saying like people had seen Zero and Jack deliver all the presents, and in like the world seeing Jack deliver the presents where Zero was the head of the thing, they made up a story to explain why there was a nose that was lit up in the front of the
Yeah,
sleigh. Okay.
basically. I think
You're
that's
nuts.
the part.
No, but all jokes aside, for real though, I mean, whatever. To each his own. You can make up whatever you want. That's the whole point. That's what Tim Burton did. He made up his own shit for every single one. I mean, I want to say some of the characters that I liked that I was kind of like, what the fuck? Like, for one, was the really gooey guy. It
Wait,
looked like
who's
a,
your character?
huh? My
Who's your
favorite character? I think I like Locke because I dressed up as him like for Halloween when I was little. The
wait,
devil
wait.
character, the one with the sharp face and the sharp teeth.
I was like, I know you're referring to the little three fuckers, but I don't know which one it was. It's the devil, huh?
Yeah,
Wait, what are their names?
Lock, Shock, and Barrel. So, and that in that same
That's-
fan theory that I read online, it
yeah,
was saying that there was a reason that they were dead and they were in that world, like, and it
yeah,
had to do with their names,
yeah.
you know. So I
That's
thought that
great.
was kind of interesting. And like, if you look at Shock's hair, like it looked like she got shocked.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
that's great.
Barrel, I don't know. Maybe you
I
got
feel like
locked in a barrel or something.
I feel like you're getting into that Ed and Eddie territory because there's also like a theory about that.
I mean, it's the threes.
Yeah.
It's the threes. It's like the two ones that are about it, the smart ones, and then the one that's kind of off, you know? Which is, I feel like the one that's kind of off is like Barrel. Like, he's just like kind of weird and clumsy and kind of, he ends up with the cauldron on his head, for God's sakes. You know? How do you do that? You know? But, I mean, obviously that he's a good character. I like Oogie Boogie. Oogie Boogie
I was
is,
just
I mean, the way they animate him and stuff like that, he definitely took a lot more time than the rest of
yeah.
the
It looks
monsters.
like it definitely looks like it did take a lot of time with thread and everything.
And I mean, just the like his layer alone is super sick. Like all black light, like they were able to photograph that and make
Yeah.
it look like it was actually black light. So, I mean, in the scene where Jack's fighting him in the lair and you just see like all these gambling machines and all these different symbols of like vice, it's like something you don't normally see in a movie like a kids movie.
I feel like
And they
Halloween
they also use guns in there too, by the
yeah.
way.
I feel like Halloween Town is just like the surface of like, okay, this is definitely dark, but Boogie Boogie's like underworld his place is like the underworld of that underworld.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like so the fact that they're drawing like gambling esque type of like that whole freaking lifestyle and that whole style just seems like it's going into like that sinful and very like um lustful territory of like
Right.
okay, well that's spooky, but this is fucking hell right here. This
And
is hell.
and it's crazy because out of all of Halloween Town, like Oogie Boogie's lair is the most it's the most bright, it's the most colorful
Yeah.
area versus the rest of Halloween Town that is more, grayish, more dark, more loomy, overcast kind of lighting versus when you're in Oogie Boogie's lair, it's like a freaking casino, you
Hmm.
know? Which I thought was, I mean, just that contrast alone really, uh, I want to say, like, divides the character of Oogie Boogie from the rest because that's where he lives. Like, that's what he's about versus everybody up on the surface. Like, kind of like
Yeah,
how you explain.
yeah. In some sense, he's like the black sheep
Yeah.
compared to everyone else. He's like a whole completely different level and
Like,
stuff.
people there are scared of him,
Yeah,
you
he's
know?
really the boogeyman's boogeyman in that sense. Everyone
Yeah.
else is a boogeyman, but this guy's like the boogeyman's boogeyman. So it's like, but that's the other thing that this movie does so well is they tease him. You know, you're aware of his presence,
Right.
and you know everyone's talk. Well, there's little hints here and there that they talk about him,
Yeah.
and you see him. You're seeing him through Santa Claus's perspective. You know,
Yeah. That's true.
so it's like, oh, like that was such a good intro into that character. It's like, oh, damn, that's crazy.
The
Um,
POV of his eyes opening, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, dude. That's I never thought about that, but yeah, that's definitely that's how he first gets introduced. Before that, it's only shadows. You see
That
him at the very beginning of the movie when
in
he's
the
like in the moon, right? You see
yeah,
his shadow in the moon, and then after that, you don't see him again. They just refer to him, and I don't know that's what I feel like kind of builds the anxiety or builds that character up. Like you said, they those them teasing him adds a lot more to the final scene, you know?
yeah, definitely.
Because you hear his voice, you hear his laugh, you know, when he gets stuffed down the pipe. You know, you see Santa Claus get stuffed down the pipe. He's like, just right there. And then he goes in, you know, and then uh, you kind of hear him start laughing and chuckling and stuff like that. He's like, well, what have we here?
We
You
got
know?
this the clothes.
Yeah.
You're joking. You're joking. I can't believe my
That's
eyes.
what I'm saying. It's so quotable. Like the music is you know, it's like a book.
Yeah,
And for my like my godson has the little baby book of Night Before Christmas, and I
really.
read it to him. He loves that movie. He like loves that movie. You know,
Yeah, this is definitely a movie that you could introduce to any generation and automatically. I don't
be
know.
attracted to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it just has this charm. I was like, fuck, that's crazy. To actually,
it's visually appealing, and kids don't know why, but it's because it's real stuff that's being photographed. You know,
yeah,
like it makes so much of a difference. I mean, in the detail, the level of detail of I mean from the woods, the scene of the woods, I mean fuck dude, like you could see the carving on the hill, you know what I'm saying, and like the spray painted like they made it look like mounds almost in different areas. You could see the trees and you could see the fucking you could see like the bark in the trees. Like dude, like there's no even in cartoons, I mean in cartoons they don't have the level of detail that these have, and I feel that that's what really
yeah,
sets this apart. It makes it more real because of that, you know.
yeah. It's. I feel it's because it's like it's artisanal. Like they're making the models of everything that you see in that movie and stuff. So it's not like it's something drawn. Well, first it's drawn to see the design, and then that becomes the model, the blueprint for the model of like, every set design that's in there. So it's like you're fucking around with a real life thing that they created out of something just based on like a design that we're following. So I mean, I feel like it's like an extra step just to like for that type of animation to do aside from like having to move every little piece per frame just to like make something alive, you know.
I mean,
But
not only that, but I'm thinking about the water, like the drips when Jack is coming out of the water, like in the well, and you see all the goo kind of like drip off of him, and then he dries out. Like, dude, what the? How do they keep track of that? Like, that's fucking insane, dude. Like,
yeah, this
the
is little things you wouldn't think.
yeah, and it looks so fluid like that. That I think that's why honestly, Nightmare Before Christmas 2 kind of takes the cake with a lot of it because so much of the animation is so fluid.
Mhm.
Like Mad Monster Party is very like you said jerky, kind of like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was kind of jerky. Like they kind of, you know, it's not completely there. It doesn't look like a 3D animation. Like Night Before Christmas straight up looks like a 3D animation in some parts. You know?
Yeah, this is the fluidity. Yeah, it's very unique. And everything.
I
Um,
mean, yeah, and the textures just hit the mark too. You know, they used a lot of different textures in the movie. You know,
yeah. Um,
are we doing top two soon?
yeah, yeah. I was just looking at the cast. I was looking for the guy that played Oogie Boogie, Ken Page.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at his filmography, which is like pretty impressive. He was in Cats. He was in Polly Coming Home. He was in All Dogs Go to Heaven, voice actor. So this guy's pretty incredible. I like it. But I mean, everyone just like. brings their talent because um honestly I wasn't expecting like Catherine O'Hara, which I learned later on like that she was actually the voice for Sally. Also the singing voice. I was just like, oh shit, like that's very surprising in that sense. You know. Um, enough of my amazement. I think we should go to the top two.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, for top two, I gotta say, well, one of my favorite scenes, obviously it's the "What's this" scene when he goes into Christmas Town and he sees all the different things and is just amazed about everything. How he sticks the light bulbs in his eyes, and you just see like the hollow space. I mean, they're playing with depth. They're playing with a lot of different things, little different aspects that you don't really normally think about when you're doing a stop motion animation movie. Like, they literally use the spaces within the characters themselves to light and make something out of, you know? So
Mhm.
I thought that was really dope. Also, the texture on the snow, it's like almost sparkly, you know? So it's like really interesting to see how the lights reflect off that over all of the area. All the different lights kind of change colors over the whole scene, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely, lighting was up on their game too as well because you definitely see a lot of interesting interesting colors in that. Um, I don't think I ever noticed that in other stop motion movies with the lighting.
Yeah.
I like what you think. Kind of how like the lighting you have right now on your whole setup. Red. There you go. He's got it. He was making a point about the lighting.
What about you? What's one of your top twos?
Uh, for my first one, I I would have to say like after, mm, I guess I would say, yeah, I would say like after this is Halloween. The whole bit, they introduce every character in the town, and then Jack Skellington goes into the cemetery and just like he's by himself. You realize he's kind of tired of like the same old thing here and there, and like that's that's going into like uh okay, because I like this movie because it perfectly reflects like the hero's journey. And I think this is the first movie that I kind of use as like a model to realize that, oh, recognize like the 8 stages or the 10 or whatever the fuck stages of
Mm-hmm.
the hero's journey. And it perfectly fit well on everything that I pointed out as like um as that model, because this is definitely going into like the introducing like introducing the character, but also the call for action, which after that is literally like the call for action. Um, and just him having to like kind of be depressed. He's going into like I was gonna say midlife crisis, but he's dead, so it's like afterlife, after midlife crisis, which just sounds like
It's a holiday crisis.
mid after, yeah, and
It's
also
like,
there is
you
the peace
know, after
depression.
doing something for so many years, you get praise for it. Oh, everyone's kissing your ass. It's like,
Yeah,
I don't
but
want to do that anymore. I don't want to be that guy, you know? I want to do something different.
yeah, I feel like um I'm trying to be like pretty careful about this, but
Here we
after,
go.
like, all right, hear me out. So, you know how you're like, there's this big event that you have that you're looking forward to, and then after it happens, you just kind of have like this slump going forward because you're just like, it's over, you know? And I feel like he eventually, wherever times he's done it, there was a peak where he was looking forward to it, but then he's just like, oh. But I don't think everyone else like realizes that,
Yeah.
at that point. So he's pretty much a guy that was ahead of his time, but also he's just like far passing everyone's like expectations because it's just like, oh, like I'm kind of over this. People who just like, they like what they're used to, or they like the repetition of everything, or being like creatures of habits, which I feel like most of them are.
Yeah.
Um, you have Jack, who's just like pretty much like the herd, like the it guy, or like I guess like the alpha, who eventually like, oh, like I always want to. He wants to be the best, but he also wants to like reinvent himself in
He's
one
like
way.
the showman.
Yeah. So he's like learning for like reinvention of himself. And here you go, and here we see he has like that again after midlife crisis,
Yeah.
going through, and him having to walk over there is just kind of
I
ironic
mean,
because
it's if you think about it, it's pretty powerful how he's able to get like the whole town to start like jump in on this new idea and like
yeah,
go 100% on it. Like that
yeah,
just goes to show how much influence he has over the whole town.
yeah, yeah. I feel like he's like, um, again, despite there is a mayor, but despite that, like Jack really, he's the guy that runs the city in that sense. And the mayor even knows it too, because there's this line where he says like, "I can't make like very serious decisions. I'm just an council elective or some shit like that." And that right there's like an adult like joke that just gets past like kids' um heads,
Yeah.
but in some sense he's actually like saying a commentary about like about politics, which is fucking true, and he's aware of it. He's all like, "Oh, I'm just a city elective or official or some shit. I can't make serious decisions
I
and
can't
stuff."
make decisions by myself. I'm an
So
elected official.
yeah, I'm an elected official. I can't make decisions, and it's true. Like it's like he always turns to Jack, and the moment that Jack is not home, he starts to fucking panic.
Yeah.
He tries to he we get to see his true face.
Yeah.
And I think that was the joke of and design of like the mayor.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like
that's another.
literally his face changes, you
Yeah,
know?
like it literally like fucking turns. Um, it's just like a toy, which
Yeah.
I would have to say he's my second favorite character in that movie.
Okay.
Yeah, but we were talking about top scenes, so sorry.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
Top scenes.
I already said my first. Yeah,
I mean, Oogie Boogie's definitely one of my top scenes, but I mean, I said the Christmas scene because of the lighting, but I mean also the Oogie Boogie scene because of the lighting. You know what's one of my favorite scenes actually? The experiments. When he starts doing all the experiments for Christmas and he like goes and asks the doctor, "Hey, can I borrow some tools because I'm doing some experiments?"
yeah,
"Oh, curiosity killed the cat, don't you know?" And he goes, "I know." Don't fucking tell me, motherfucker. I know, bro. Just give me the stuff.
yeah. I like how he uses the hypothesis theory, the scientific theory, and you
Yeah.
get like all the steps. Which I mean, when you were growing up and then you watch that movie, you
Yeah.
kind of get more context, like, oh, that's funny,
Right.
you
That's
know?
actually a good way to present the scientific theory.
Yeah, they should have like a screenshot of that him having to figure out that shit to like
Yeah,
bring
his
it.
hypothesis. Yeah. And
He's
then,
just
like,
like,
the scientific method. That's what it is.
yeah, yeah, there you go. Experimental methods, right? Scientific method. Yeah. think- But yeah,
Okay, that's a good idea.
that's a good idea. I like it because it was just going into science. Of course, it is like a Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein type of guy. So of course he would have to like be all scientific about
It's just wild how, like, he's driven crazy by simple things that like no one would ever run experiments on. Like, you know what I'm saying? But the effects in those scenes I think were really cool. Like For example, the use of the magnifying glass when he's tearing out like the little, uh, when he's dissecting the teddy bear. You know what I'm saying?
It's
And he's
like
like bringing it out and like bringing out all the fluff. Like that was a good use of a magnifying glass in that scene to like go and show, that he's actually trying to get detailed and get scientific with it and like do appropriate things to figure out what's going on here. I mean, another one is like when he crushes up the decoration for the tree and he puts it into the vial and it starts glowing and he's like, "Yes, interesting reaction, but what does it mean?" It's like, what? Like, what the fuck?
why would anyone question Christmas like that? He just
Exactly, but it's like you feel for when he says that, you feel for him. It's like, what does that mean? it's
again you're going with the first question you asked, and then further in that question, what's this?
Yeah,
What's this? Literally,
literally, that's trippy.
you're
Yeah, he's just going
still
further
asking
and
that.
deeper into
Yeah, he's
the
still asking.
whole of Christmas. And
Yeah,
and it's funny. You know what's another good scene too? This might be honorable mention now, but when he explains the holiday to the town and they all start responding and trying to make it like, is it filled with a rat? Or maybe it's the thing that I found in the lake. You know what I'm saying? It's like everyone's trying to make sense of this, something that's good from this land that's like morbid. So
yeah,
they're all trying to make it in like make sense of it in their morbid reality, you know?
yeah. And everyone's again. I think everyone's just has the same good intention as Jack, but they just can't grasp like they can't grasp the idea of fucking Christmas at all. Which I feel like it's funny. Again, it's like a mismatch of having to them understand. And we're here, we understand both holidays.
Yeah.
You see like the personification of Halloween, understanding what the hell Christmas is just like so fucking funny. You know?
I mean,
It's
it's
it's the
interesting because the human experience is all of these holidays.
yeah, it's the
you know?
it's the unawareness that just makes that's really fucking sells it on this.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
you're right. Like the unawareness from one world to the other. It's like the
Yeah.
cross of,
Yeah, and
two different worlds, definitely.
and I think that also stays true with comedy because you see like, very comedic, not comedic, but just like some characters that you just find so funny. And what makes it so funny is that their lack of self-awareness, you know, or not being aware of like them being them and everyone looking into them and seeing like he can't help it but be themselves and stuff, you know?
Yeah, it's just they're from a different world. They're trying to understand another one and they're trying to make the best sense out of it that they can. You
Yeah.
know? It's like, look at this hat that I made and it's a dead bat.
It's funny and it's cute in that weird way.
And it's gross. You know what I'm saying? That's what's cool about it. It's like they went there with that. They like, like he like basically gets a bat, smashes it in, and he makes it into a hat, and it's like, oh, it's fun. It's like, what the fuck? Like, if you're watching this from the outside, it's like, do I really want my kids watching this? But then you see the animation and the characters and how everything looks, and it's like, yeah, it's okay. It's like it's a kids movie, you
Yeah.
know. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's
but
a
obviously, if this was a real life, you know, transition of some guys beating a dead bat and making a hat out of it, it's not a good sight. And that's another thing that I was gonna say is that stop motion animation, even though these really creepy ideas go through and they seep in, stop motion animation makes them family friendly because it's animation. They can get away with a lot more doing morbid shit like that.
yeah, definitely. You definitely see it in Marvel. Um, they're actually becoming a little bit more violent, but only it's because like they're not killing human beings or ripping human beings apart, but it's actually like aliens.
Aliens. Yeah.
So they could get away with like blue, purple, black blood as opposed to red, and it's just like as
Yeah, I mean,
plot lines.
Thor Love and Thunder, man, like that beginning scene when he's like murking all of them, that shit was tight, and
And then when he tries to scare the kids, and then he rips that little alien apart, and he's just like, "That you like those types of stories." And then when you actually see it, it's just like traumatizing a bunch of kids,
yeah,
you know. And it's just like, oh, that's nothing. Like that doesn't exist. Like you can rip that shit apart, and they can get away with it. But they're trying to say they're kind of hard, or going there. But it's like, not really. You're kind of cheating. But yeah, this
yeah,
movie definitely gets away with a lot, and it's just like it's okay because it's like it's not even real. You
yeah.
might get a little traumatized, but overall,
I
you're
mean,
not
let's talk about traumatization. The last scene, and I think we're gonna end Night Before Christmas. There's a
good.
lot to unpack in Night Before Christmas, but like
I
the
think we should have.
last scene in Night Before Christmas when he goes and brings all the presents, and the kids
Yeah,
open the presents. Like that in itself shows that they're trying to traumatize children. They're
yeah,
trying, like that was they know
literally-
what they're doing.
yeah. It's literally like a scene of traumatizing children, and then
Literally, literally.
kids watching those kids is just like, oh shit! Like, what if that's me? You know?
Right. It's like put yourself in that fat white
That,
kid's shoe with the glasses, and he's
yeah.
being chased around by that freaking thing. Like fuck that.
You see a snake eating your Christmas tree and shit. It's like, what's
And the
going?
snake made a debut in Beetlejuice.
Yeah, they're similar. Yeah, they're similar.
Sand
I get
creature, something like that.
it.
They use the
Yeah,
same kind of creatures and kind of like use them for different things, which is smart.
yeah, it
But
is.
hey,
Again,
what are you gonna
that's
do?
yeah, that's Tim Burton's design, if anything. But yeah,
Welp. I mean, talking about that, let's talk about another dope movie he made. Well, I don't know. Did he make this one?
no, Tim Burton didn't make this, but you know who did make this?
But he
Henry.
did something on it, right?
No, 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 you're not listening. Tim Burton didn't make this movie, but Henry Selick directed this movie. So that's why there's similarities.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Um, yeah, this is where the next movie we're talking about is Coraline, which came out in 2009 by like none other than Lankin. Yep, none other than freaking Lakin. Is it Lakin? Lakin Studios?
Yeah, this
And
was Lakin Studios is actually in Portland, and that's where this image is from right here. This is the actual set.
yeah,
That's the actual set behind me that they used for Coraline, which is at Lakin Studios Art Museum in Portland.
yeah, exactly. And I think this is their first movie that they made. I could be freaking wrong, but I'm gonna look it up. But either way, um, I also learned this as well. This is actually an adaptation of a graphic novel by Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman is actually he's a really good he has some good graphic novels out there. He's known for The Sandman, which now we're getting an adaptation of that series on Netflix. But he's known for like a lot of like dark type of things. I think he was part of the Watchmen graphic novel. I could be wrong. I think it was a collaboration with him. Or no, I think I'm crossing over like graphic novel.
Lakin Studios did Box Trolls. They did
Paranormal
Paranorman, and they also did Kubo, I
and
believe.
yeah, they did. And also Missing Link.
Oh, the new one, yeah. Dude, you know what? I started watching that, but I didn't finish it.
Really?
Yeah, I was watching a bootleg version of it. Hate to say it, but I was like,
Yeah.
man, I don't know how I feel about this movie. I don't
I
know if I want to pay to see this movie. Like, I don't know.
yeah.
And I fell asleep. So obviously, what are you gonna do?
I I like this because this studio is actually known for like the stop motion, but they're actually pushing that stop motion with adding like actual vision, like yeah, like visual effects, like special effects, because they also use like green screen with like their model sets and stuff. So it's interesting them implementing like CGI with stop motion. So and it's like seamlessly. And I think this Coraline is like no exception because you kind of do see like some effects that are very ambitious and just very like, oh, like you would think it's like, oh, like how, like it's all stop motion, but some of it's not even stop motion in that sense. And it's like, again, they're doing a good job having to like making it seem that it is like a stop motion type of thing going on. And again, it's looks pretty freaking clean. Just as clean as like, or even more cleaner than before, Nightmare Before Christmas and anything and stuff.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Maybe.
I mean, obviously the camera technology is way different. You
Yeah.
know, they most likely have a digital setup for. I mean, behind me is the garden scene from Coraline, and they most likely had a digital set for all the lights. They were able to control a lot more. I mean, LEDs now exist in this time period. I don't know if they existed during Night for Christmas, right? Because that was in the 90s.
Yeah, that was in the 90s, so they probably used like fluorescent lights and just like
Well, I mean, I'm thinking about like the lighting within the pumpkins, like stuff like that. Like
yeah,
those were probably like actually little fucking lights, you
they were
know?
like studio lights, or
Yeah.
they created like little studio lights.
Little exactly, but like for Coraline, I mean, that's why I feel it's a lot. The, the lighting in Coraline is a lot more fantastical. Like it has a
Yeah,
lot more fantasy aspect to it because of the context of it, you know. But I mean, I feel like the lighting in Coraline really defined what it is because I mean, just look behind me. It's like a plethora of different lights. You have all these different lights kind of um, contrasting each other. You got this purple light over here, which is like the greenhouse, and then you got over here, you know, real bright orange lights. And when you watch that scene of her in the garden in that other world, it's like totally, you know, it's like lights up your whole room when you watch it. I was lucky enough to see Coraline in 3D when it came out.
oh really?
Yeah.
That's
I
crazy.
remember one of the things that tripped me out the most was in the introduction, there's like, looks like a butterfly. Like they're butterflies in the beginning, like moths. And in the beginning, when you're watching it, the moths are at different depths when you're watching it in 3D. So when they fly away, you kind of see like this whole like I don't know, it's weird. It's like
No,
the
I get
the
it.
screen tears apart, but you could see the shadows beneath each of them, so it really gives it like I don't know, it looks fucking awesome. I just
No,
remember watching Coraline in 3D and just thinking like, wow,
that's
I should
that's
never
a
watch this movie unless it's in 3D.
yeah, that's another thing. Stop motion looks really well when you're watching it in 3D.
Yup.
The depth is what really makes it because it's real, and then it's like it's like you're there, like
Yeah.
you could like literally feel like you could touch it and stuff. Because I remember I didn't watch this in 3D, but I watched the trailer for Frankenweenie, another
Mm-hmm.
stop motion movie, and when I saw the preview in it in 3D, I noticed like, oh fuck, like it looks like I could literally
My
fucking touch
fucking god. What are you doing? Close the door. What are you, a
Close the
ghost?
door.
Oh, all right, then leave it open. Don't do that. You're creeping me out. Come show your face.
Watch it come. No? Oh,
Just messing. Just messing.
it's
That
okay.
really caught me off guard right now. I was like, Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
Does she like fuck around with you every Halloween?
No, but I'm about to. Just
You
watch.
should do so. It's your due diligence.
The
Always
due
scare.
diligence for Coraline.
Always scare. Always scare your mate.
Are we gonna do top two scenes? Are we gonna do characters? What are we gonna do?
Um, I guess we could get into characters, if anything.
I mean, why born? You know?
Why are you born?
Why are you born?
Clever.
Why born? Like, why are you born?
Yeah. It's really playing on existence. And he's just like, oh, that's funny. That's
I
very
always wanted to be why born for
very
Halloween.
really.
Yeah. Roxy never found me the right mask for him though.
I think that character was such well, guessing. She's
Hold
like,
on real quick. Hold on.
what's going on? What did she say? Oh no.
Here we go.
Oh no.
Real life Coraline.
I guess.
She's gonna follow the rats in the hole.
Yeah. By the way, those rats are from Australia, New Zealand, or whatever.
Yeah. Why
I
do
saw.
they why do they choose those?
I don't know. I was thinking like, oh wait, they must be Australians. But then it's like, oh wait, their studio is based on Seattle. So it's like, I don't know. Or maybe there are Australians or New Zealanders in there. I don't know. Last time I saw those rats were in Dune. And then I saw them in this movie and I was like, oh, they must be Australians. But I don't know. The one thing about this movie is that it's definitely like Alice in Wonderland esque, but with like a really dark twist on it. She I guess in some ways it's not her tripping balls, but it's just her having to learn to be more grateful about like her living situation. Because the way they the way that I saw it like last night is like, okay, real life kind of sucks because you tend to see more of the con than the pros. Because you're seeing like the um her parents who they had to move and then they have like boring jobs and jobs are like basically sucking their fucking souls out of them. And they're not really like very fun to be around. And you kind of see like the con, like, oh, like I got this boring lifeless parents. But I guess the pro and that whole thing is that they're doing everything that they can to provide for her and to have like that stable life. But then like once you get into like the other world, the other mother and the other father, you're seeing like all the best perks of them being the best parents as a pro in the forefront, but the background is, well, if you decide to be here, we're gonna have to fucking take your fucking eyes out. Which is like, it's almost perfect until it's really not. You know what I mean? There's always like the there's the catch for that.
That's the catch. That's the whole catch about it. You know?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I
So
mean,
it is go ahead.
that's the whole I mean, and this one it goes into like kind of the tale of I mean, not along the lines of well, I guess along the lines of like Night Before Christmas, like it's a tale that's to be told to get something out of it. Don't take over
Message.
something. Don't mess with something that's not that it may be attractive, it may look good, but at the end of the day, there could be something wrong with it. There could be something there that it just doesn't mix with your vibe, and that's what you see in Coraline. You see her go down this tunnel and basically see a whole world that is contradictory to what she's living in, and she thinks it's the best kind of world, but at the end of the day, it's all a facade. It's all a trap to make her feel like, you know, she's in control when she's really not, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Because throughout the whole way, she really wasn't in control. But then, like, at when it came to like having her parents at stake, being at stake, she took control of the situation and know what was at risk. But you kind of later learn that it was all in a disillusion or an illusion in that sense. And her parents were really freaking gone. I think it was just like part of her imagination, but it's also very psychological from that takeaway. But I think that was the whole point. But the whole moral message is just like don't take things for granted, you know. And like real life actually is pretty fucking shitty. But at the end of the day, appreciate what you got, you know.
Right. Even if
But
it's kind of shitty,
yeah, exactly. Because you
But
that.
I mean, I want to kind of dissect both of the parents because you have this kind of weird, they're both creatives,
Uh-huh.
but they're not like full of life, like how she imagined they would be
Yeah.
in her upside down world or whatever.
There's there's an interest because their interest is in guarding, so they're both actually like what do we call it? They're both gardening expertise per se, but they never actually done any gardening themselves, But in the other world, they're actually like so perfect that they're actually doing the gardening, so they're fulfilling their dream of having to do not just write about their passion, but also do the passion itself, crafting it,
Yeah.
And here they are in like the normal world, and they just like not fulfilling what their initial passion was, and all they're doing is just writing, which to me it feels a little confusing as to like how are they having to have a job about this when they're not actually doing the real thing. I think
You know
just
what?
like
And that's the whole thing about it. It's like it's the misunderstanding of what it is to have knowledge and to share it. You have to be able to make a document about it, right? And
yeah,
making a document is not like actually doing it.
yeah,
Even though they have the knowledge of how to do it and what to do and blah 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 blah, but they're really just trying to make a profit off of their knowledge of doing the work, you know, which is I think it's fucking interesting. And then like let's fast forward, go to the end of the movie, and then everyone's in the garden helping them and kind of like doing their thing. They're bringing out lemonade and doing this whole thing, right?
hmm
So it's like finally at the end, what she imagined, what the main kind of spice was about that life was a garden and like this beautiful big beautiful thing. It's actually starting to come into fruition
yeah,
with help from others. So I mean it's like that's when the other characters kind of play their role and show that they have a lot to do with the story and telling it and making it what it is.
yeah, pretty much. It's it really sets in like um expectation, like expectations versus what
Reality.
reality is in
Yep.
that sense. you know. So there is that perfect expectation from what parents should be, which she gets. But the only thing is like it's sort of like, oh, you want all these perfect things, but at the end of the day, you kind of need to make a deal with the devil, which is essentially like what the other mother is, you know?
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
that point, they actually, she risks her life just to like um save not only save her parents, but also, making a deal that she would actually stay in that world,
Not only
but
that, but if you pay attention to the story, the person that owns the pink apartments that she's in, or whatever they're called, what are the apartments that she lives in called? It's
not
like the pink
apartments, it's
something.
literally
It's like
a
a complex or something like that. It's like a
comp,
yeah. It's like a place. Yeah, because she has neighbors, right?
right?
So
The
it's
neighbor, the Russian circus guy,
yeah. So like that whole place is like it has a name for it, and that's why Wyborn's there is because his grandma is the landowner of it. And if
right?
you notice, um, one of the little girls that's a ghost child is a black girl with braids,
Right.
which is Wyborn's grandma's sister. Testing.
Right.
But it's
But
Wyborn's grandma's sister. Because remember, she says, oh, yeah, she doesn't like people going over there because back in the day, her sister went over there and she never came back or something like that.
yeah.
And he just
So
kind
it's
of like slips it in the dialogue, like doesn't really make a big deal about it.
yeah. So it's also like history there where like there was missing children and it turned out like, oh, it was the other mother. But I feel like the other mother, whatever she is through Coraline's eyes, she's looking at her mom. But and all those ghosts were actually in Coraline's place. So I'm thinking like this thing's disguising herself as like, the other parent.
Well,
And
it
they're not, and when they were encounter that other mother, they're actually encountering that version of their mother. And
right.
that's
Well, that's what you got to think about is remember in the beginning of the movie, you see the other mother creating the doll for Coraline, right?
yeah,
Coraline's doll. So she knows her next victim. She's doing her research. She's trying to find out what she likes, what her dislikes are mainly, what she
yeah,
doesn't like, what she wishes she could change. She wants to reach to that dream level. She wants to give her ultimate reality. You
yeah.
know?
And it was Wilburn who actually brought that doll. And that also puts into question like how long was that doll like in that house? Because, he did find it in his house. Or I think that's what he said. I don't remember.
Yeah,
But
no, it ended up being like, oh, um this was like it was built, it was like in there already. What some fuck, I want to
yes,
rewatch it again.
yeah, me
But
too.
yeah, no, definitely, because like that was the introduction of the movie is her building this, other doll, and you see her like fingers are all like sewing needles and stuff like that.
hmm
So it's like the creepiness is already there before she becomes the other mother trying to fit the mold of what Coraline wants and what Coraline desires in her parents.
Yeah. It uh, we talked about this movie, The Thing, that it basically mimics everything. So whatever family goes into the house, I feel like they're kind of mimicking them and basically using that as a tool to like bring in their next victim in that sense.
Yeah, I mean that could be. I mean, who knows who the tenants were before,
Yeah.
of wherever they were living at and why they
Well,
left and stuff like that.
yeah, I think all the ghosts that she conquered, or she kind of
Cuz that was the thing is she was moving in. They were moving in at the beginning of the movie. They had just literally gotten there. So, She was just figuring out everything, and that's kind of like the one of the tropes with it. I feel like a lot of scary movies, or like not scary movies, but like Halloween movies. It's like the new kid. It's like the new kid doesn't know what's up. The new kid doesn't know like what's going on around here. Doesn't know like how we do things.
Yeah,
Hocus
it
pocus. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, definitely like a lot of those movies is about misfits.
right.
It's come in they come into town and of course there's more misfits to, you know, that they encounter and stuff. Like with Wilburn. Like he's a misfit himself. He's fucking weird as hell.
Yeah.
But you know
Wyborn.
that person, yeah, Wyburn, sorry. Um, I don't know why I keep saying Wilburn. I was like, um, he,
Because that's the. I think
he's,
that's the
is,
whole joke about it. It's Wilborn's usually the real name, but then they go, "Oh, Wilborn. Then why don't we change this to Wyborn?"
Wyburn.
you know?
Yeah, no, I definitely get the joke on that. But yeah, it's definitely bringing a lot of like, uh, that story about like misfits, and then encountering something that's like very strange, and at the end of the day, they kind of conquer that world because I don't think anyone that was ordinary would actually like have the same reaction to that world that uh, they encounter and stuff. Because Coraline is definitely like someone that's like very quirky, and she's uh, what do you call it? What's that phrase? She definitely like beats her own drum in that sense, you know. And I think it was just like that unique character that actually, was able to conquer it all. I don't want to even say like going into that chosen one type of like folklore, but a lot of stories are about that, like, oh, like this unordinary person or this person that's like, very quirky for doing his own thing, conquer this one specific thing at the end of the day.
I mean, but what that's the crazy part is like everybody that's in there and all our neighbors are that quirky.
Yeah,
They all have a quirkiness about them.
it matches their quirkiness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say like this yeah, the circus performer neighbor. I would
Weirdo.
like, yeah, I would say he's like my favorite character.
Yeah. He's
He's
pretty
fucking
cool.
weird, but it's pretty cool. And then when he goes on the other version of that world, he's actually a pretty successful like circus performer. But if you think about it in reality, it's just this fucking loser that goes up to the rooftop having to think like he's still the hot shit. But in
Yeah.
reality, like, he just lost it all some one way or another, which again, it um it suggests there's like a whole fucking background there, like a whole background arc or a
Right.
story,
Started
which I
started talking to mice somehow.
yeah, exactly.
And it's like the two sisters. I
Yeah,
can't get over that the way they made their old boobs. You know what I'm saying? Like
here's another thing about like the stop motion
it
that
plays a big part in the movie.
yeah, the jiggliness, not also like on the tits, but also like the belly of the Russian circus dancer. I noticed like, oh, his belly vibrates or it jiggles. It's like, oh, that's
Yeah.
so weird. But I think that's like a visual effect that they added on and stuff. And then again, I noticed it, with like the two sisters, they're very busty, and of course their titties just jiggle, and it's like, oh, that's kind of natural, and like that's also the visual effects that comes further. It's just the play of the body or the flesh,
Right.
you
And I
know?
mean like that to be able to nail that fluidity down and that's fucking difficult to do. Showing some
Yeah.
appreciation there.
Yeah.
Obviously it doesn't turn me on or anything, but it's to be able to see that kind of stuff and also in a kids movie, you know what I'm saying? Like they joke around with it. They make it a comedic point to talk
Yeah.
about that or like make that an obstacle in the story. Um even later on, like all their little dogs and stuff like that, the quirkiness within them, I kind of like the sisters more because it's kind of like they're the mystical ones. They're the ones who kind of oh shit. They're the ones who kind of have like the answers of like what's to be foretold and stuff like that, and they want to read their tea leaves. And she has a little hat, and she's like all about theater. It's like very I don't know. It's like witchy, you know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's just like there's just something about them, really. They're just like they're those type of people, you know. Like you would say, like if um, well, I mean, it is a whole town, but in that town, like they'll be known as like the misfits in that sense, or yeah, because of their quirkiness and their personality. It's just like we don't really get them, but they're just there.
That's why, honestly, like that's why I feel like it's really interesting when she goes into the world and she confronts her neighbors because that whole mouse scene in the circus and then the whole scene of like them in the theater and stuff like that, it's like in her imagination almost what they really are. And I mean, that's what makes the story for me is just those flashbacks and going into that world and seeing that whole the difference between what she's used to and you know the opposite of that. I don't know where I'm getting at with this, but
No, I know where you're getting at. You because you're seeing the reality, but also when she goes through that world, she's actually looking at the best versions of those
right,
characters.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's like again, Alice in Wonderland vibes. It's just looking through the looking glass in that sense.
Mm,
So it's like a better reflection of those people in that sense, if that makes any sense.
yeah.
You know. So
And I mean they end up helping her in the end, right?
yeah,
You know, I just remember seeing I feel like the well, no, I don't feel. I've seen the circus mouse scene in 3D. It's fucking awesome, dude.
really,
Yeah, because it's just like a bunch of little mice, and all those mice are pulled up from the. They're like in the foreground, and everything else is in the background.
yeah, yeah. You know what? I'm starting to remember that. I just watched this like last night.
Uh huh.
I think the fluidity of all the rats were a little more different compared to the rest of the movie, and I started to think like I think that was 2D animation. I don't know why I thought that, but I'm pretty sure I'm like tripping on that.
Well, they could have multiplied one animation.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? To like make it look like multiple mice, which would have
yeah,
been the smart thing to do because then you have to do less animation per thing. But they could have done the actual work to make it out like that, which is
yeah,
fucking amazing. But I mean, do you want to do? Did we talk about top two already on
yeah,
this?
yeah. Let's go into top
Yeah, let's do top two. So,
two.
man, one of them is obviously the guarded scene for me. Just like seeing,
Yeah,
all the different lighting, all the different things that they did. You could tell some of the shots are just videotaped. Like it's clearly just videotaping the garden and superimposing some different characters onto the layer of where they were at and stuff like that. And man, I mean, just from the pumpkin to the big machine, the tractor that was like um what is it? What was it? The thing with the big eyes. The manta ray? Is it a manta ray? No. Is it? What is it? The thing with the claws that they were using to like do the garden?
but that was only like yeah. I know what you're talking about. It was really quick. Maybe you should show an image. I think that'll like be a better help. But yeah, they were playing on that. Uh,
Why did I think manta ray? What is it called? Damn it.
I don't know. I just watched this movie and I'm like kind of blanking. But either way, uh, yeah, that was great. By the way, you sitting on Roxy's chair?
No, this is my chair. It's just her chair is behind over there.
It looks like you're sitting on Roxy's
I'll
chair.
scoot. I'll scoot over here more. I forget what. Man, I can't think of the freaking name of that bug. But it's like the one with the scissors. But like you see, he's like mechanically controlling it.
Oh, the matches?
Yeah, the mantis. There we go, mantis.
I was like what?
Yeah. Well, duh. What other bug does that? And it has scissors for arms, kind of. But yeah, the mantis thing where he jumps up on it and he starts controlling it and shit. I thought that was fucking cool. And then, like I said, my second scene would definitely have to be that mouse scene in the circus, because
Mm,
seeing that shit in 3D, bro, like all the remember when all the rats tower up and they make like
yeah.
like a crate, like dude, that shit looked insane. 3D, bro.
God, I'm like thinking about it because they were like in the foreground, and then you have like that perspective when
Yeah.
like looking down, or yeah,
They
yeah,
dude, they
like
messed with perspective. That scene specifically messes with perspective,
yeah,
you know? And
that's
they
what.
did it really well, and it was like shot for 3D, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
That's one of my favorite things for sure. What
Well,
about you? What's your top two?
my first one I had to say was probably the funniest scene because again, visual cues is what really fucking sold it. Um, so they're at the dinner table, and I think they're having breakfast, and then Coraline's basically describing like the other world to her parents, and she's describing it as a dream. She's saying like, oh, she's believing that it's a dream. It's all like, oh yeah, Dad, I imagine there was a character like you with your, bun sew for his eyes, and he had like orange sandals, and he's like, no, I actually have blue sandals. And then he said something about like, oh, in your world, like you don't think they have like an ointment for like uh sitting down because the dad sits down all the time. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
because I have a rash in my, and then the mom stops him before he says ass, and
Yeah.
it's like, hey, and then you have the mom in the background, like making a remark about that, and then he's like fucking gesturing like the hand on his ass.
Yeah.
He's like, and the only thing that comes out is the sound like it's like
Ah.
no, it's just his hands like cringing like because he really does have a rash on his ass. But the only way to gesture at it is just like him having to like move his fingers. It's just like the funniest visual because it's just the mom having like, dude, are you being disgusting again? He's like, so it's just like I don't know. It's just like it could have been like a different scene of him just like, oh, what if it was a masturbating scene? And he's just like, sometimes I just want to. What are you getting on with? And yeah, it's just like one of those things about that. It's just like it's interesting. Another thing I would say is because I noticed this in both the roles with the mom and the dad. The mom always seems to be like the most dominant one, and then the dad's like the most cool and chill out one. And in both roles, uh, both those roles are actually the same because the dad's more laid back and he wants to have fun with like Coraline, be fucking quirky and funny and shit. In the other world, he doesn't even talk at all, but he's the only one that actually wants to help Coraline in that sense.
Right.
Right. And you see, like, oh, well, obviously, like in both worlds, like the mom is more dominant because she's having her the highbrow, but in the other mother world, like she wants to conquer. Um, she's in control of her own world, and obviously, she's gonna be the dominant one that wants Coraline as her will and do as yeah she says and whatnot, or basically kill her. I don't know. But like if you notice, like if when I think it was like at the end part, the you see that um at the last part she's trying to save her parents, and then she's going throughout the house, and then she sees her other father, but she's not even scared of the other father because the other father's actually trying to help her. Like, oh, like I'm trying to like mm, get you to, I think she hints where her parents are at. And she notices it's like she's like right there at the fucking on top of the fireplace,
Mm-hmm.
and they're in like the crystal ball or whatever and stuff. I think I could misremember that, but I remember that dad was like actually trying to help her
Mm-hmm.
and see that okay, well, he's actually a good guy on both those roles and stuff. So, it's just something that I noticed in this that even though whatever world they're in, there's always like a constant, and the constant is like, oh, with the mom's dominant, the dad is more like laid back and shit. So it's like, oh, okay, the dynamic is still the same,
Mm-hmm.
but the circumstances are different.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say that's like my second scene.
For sure, man. Well, I mean, dude, we covered a lot today, man.
We did.
For like 3 hours worth. It was like an hour movie, basically.
Both of them are like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
All those movies are an hour and a half. And we covered it in a little over 2 hours.
Let's
It has
just
three
let's just
hours.
talk about now. I mean, final thoughts on Coraline and everything.
Yeah.
I I
Go
thought it
ahead.
was cool to see a black kid in a stop motion animation movie. Wyborn's a black kid. His grandma's a black lady. We didn't see those before. I didn't see that in Paranorman. I didn't see that before in, uh other movies. Any stop motion animation movies, I haven't seen a black kid. So it was refreshing to see, a person of color in the mix in Coraline. I thought
Yeah.
that was cool.
You
Um
yeah. Just adding on that note, um, I did notice he did have like a different color tone, but you kind of don't think about it because you're just saying like, oh, it's just another kid in the neighborhood. But then when he brings his grandma by the end of the movie, I was like, oh, he's a mix. He's a person of color that's pretty. I think it's safe to say he's pretty mixed. You know?
yeah, but that's what I'm saying is like when before have you seen that, that much, in Paranorman, I don't think there was any.
No, I
I
didn't.
don't remember seeing any black kids in Paranorman.
I didn't. But the only thing I think about Black is like going back to Nightmare Before Christmas, who Ken Page played Oogie Boogie. He's
Yeah.
actually black.
Yeah,
And
yeah. No,
then
he
he's
does. He does the singing too, and he does
yeah, and
like
the
the
singing is
whole.
yeah, the
Yeah,
singing is very much like uh what do you call it? Cajun, in the Cajun style.
yeah.
Yes. So you're getting like that type of style in that movie, so it's implementing race,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't really see the his skin tone. But in this movie, yeah, I get what you're saying. There's a definitely representation going on right there, and you didn't expect it, but it's just like, oh, like you know, you don't say whatever, but after realizing that, there is that representation, and then you're thinking about it, it's like, oh, that's never really happened before. So it's like, oh, that having to notice it now is just like, okay, we
Yeah,
appreciate.
yeah. Like I said, like especially for those movies, it's like you just like pale little white kids or like pale little kids, in general. And for that one, it was like the ghost children, and then also Whiteborn. It's like this whole kind of. There's a backstory there. There's a backstory within
Yeah.
history there. You know what I'm saying?
Oh no, you
And
definitely did.
and I think that's something that's important from Coraline because the story doesn't start with her. The story continues with her. you know?
Right.
And it's
So it's
always, I feel like it's like the other mother always chooses kids that are more like unique, like a little quirky, like a little, different
yeah,
than the rest of the children, you know?
yeah, definitely. I uh just definitely going into that serial killer vibe. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I mean, if you get the chance to see this movie in 3D or find it in 3D, definitely watch it. This shit is trippy in 3D. It's
yeah,
it's it's made for 3D for sure.
yeah, definitely. It's I don't know how you all watch it in 3D because it's gonna be a little bit more harder
Yeah.
or to actually, watch it in 3D. But yeah, definitely do the effort. Yeah, do your homework and all that. Um, right. So I got myself another beer. This is
What?
called Office for me.
This fucking guy over here.
Just bringing the best ones for last.
You should have brought that one when we were talking about Mad Monster Party, man. I'm gonna do
I
some honorable mentions. I'm gonna wrap it up, dude.
I had two of the pumpkins, so I was just like finishing one and then the other one for the other movie, and then
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know. I'm a slow consumer, so I just do that.
Sure
But yeah,
are.
I had that.
Just in general, you're just,
What? What? Shut the fuck up. That isn't true. I did make got a lot of good points at this point. So, anyways,
We'll sip it, crack it open, and let's see what it tastes like. See what it tastes like. What the hell was that? That was a babysitter. You gotta take a chug.
it's all right.
But does it taste like the other one?
No, it doesn't taste like pumpkin
Is it
spice.
is it a hazy or what?
Yeah, I think it is a hazy.
Kind of
This is
looks like it.
no, actually, this is a West Coast Pale Ale. Pale Ale. Used with brew with. Well, you can't really see it, but
West Coast.
Aussie hops. It literally says Aussie hops, and it's not as strong for some reason. It's like 5%.
Huh.
This is a 5%er. It's crazy. Who would
For
have
a
known?
West Coast, that's rare.
For a
They're
West
usually
Coast,
7.0 and up.
yeah. Well, this is a pale ale, so pale ales are
Oh.
like a
Oh, it's
bit,
a pale? Yeah, that makes sense then.
yeah. So it's a little bit lower than like,
That's cool.
like
Well, I just
regular.
want to talk about some honorable mention movies real quick before we completely shut this down. I just want to talk about a couple other movies we didn't mention. Wish we could have talked about more. Obviously, we talked about Paranorman. Paranorman is freaking awesome.
Yeah,
They have a lot of the gooey, jiggly stuff in stop motion animation going on. Um, that's pretty dope. Another one is Box Trolls, same company, and then also
I'm, yeah.
Kubo. Kubo is fucking awesome, bro. I love that movie.
I still haven't watched that movie.
That is one of my
Watched
favorite movies, I think.
it.
Honestly, it's
Okay.
really cool. It's like an anime but stop motion animation. It's really fucking tight, and it's like based in Japanese like
Yeah,
lore, and it tells the story in that context. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Box Trolls is a little weird,
That's
little weird. That's what I'll say about that. It's just I don't know. It's like a someone that's like trying to be someone else. It's a Scooby Doo who done it almost, you know. And then you got
crazy.
um
Missing link.
Missing Link is another one, but I wouldn't really categorize that one as a Halloween movie. I've seen it, not really a Halloween movie like Paranorman
Um,
and the other ones.
I guess the other honorable mention I would say is Jack and the Giant Peach. It's not Halloweenish or horror, but it did fucking scar me for life.
Shit, you show that to some kids, they'll say it's Halloween for sure.
This is Halloween for you.
James.
Again, this is actually
Isn't it a lovely day?
hello.
Scarred me for life. I just
This movie
remember that arcade. Remember that machine that they played? It was like a rhino, and it was like
wasn't a machine, it was a fucking cloud.
no, there was like inside of when he was with the ant. Now I gotta watch that movie again. He was like with the ants, and like there was like a machine, and he was like playing them like almost like an arcade machine with like a rhino or something like that. I just thought that was the coolest thing when I was little. I was like, what the
Uh,
fuck?
You have to rewatch that because I think
Yeah, no, I'll send you a picture of it. It was weird. It was weird, definitely, but
I just
definitely
remember
dark and gloomy and eerie movie.
it's, yeah, and it's like a um and it's like based on a children's book, so by Roald Dahl,
Yeah,
who did Tilda, the witches, which this shit is pretty.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
There you go. It's pretty dark and weird and quirky. And then when you have movie adaptations, it's like it's a trauma fest for some fucking reason. It's just like
Dude,
you know
even Charlie and the I mean Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory when they did that, he's like,
the
dude,
first
no
one,
one on set knew what was going on when they
yeah,
did that whole scene where like and the
fucking
shit keep on rolling and and he's like in the when he's like on the river of chocolate,
yeah.
none
It's
of the actors knew he was gonna do that, so
yeah,
like
it's
they,
traumatizing.
they were looking at him in fear.
That movie was traumatizing because like in that movie, you know, every kid does something that gets them like, you know, out of the picture, but it also brought connotation that something happened to them and they died because they never come back into the movie after that. But I think that's the big difference between that version with Gene Wilder with Johnny Depp because in the Johnny Depp version they say, "Oh, all these kids are safe. Nothing happened to them, really."
Yeah,
If you do notice that, you know, so it's like, yeah, there's trauma, and then also going through that again, the Gene Wilder version, they go through that tunnel, and it's like hella trippy, and you're just like, what the fuck?
yeah, and the better keep on going, and the
If
river's
you,
always flowing.
yeah, if you notice, and yeah, if you notice, if you watch, we talked about Thor: Love and Thunder, but
Yeah,
if you watch Thor Ragnarok, when he goes into like, when he enters that planet or that world,
the river
he
of
goes.
Styx.
He goes into that tour little ride, and if you listen closely before he goes into the tunnel, you get to listen to the Willy Wonka theme song, like ding, 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 ding. And then
Oh
he goes,
really?
yeah,
Oh shit.
yeah,
Huh.
rewatch that movie, and then before he goes into that tunnel, and you know they chop off his hair and
Yeah.
everything, you could hear that chime right before he goes into that little tour. And I was
Huh.
just like, oh,
Trip out.
that's a nod on that.
Yeah, definitely. But
But
also when they walked into I guess we'll save that for the Willy Wonka episode, huh?
yeah. Oh, going back into Um, I did say this, but Henry Selick, who directed Nightmare Before Christmas, Coraline, and then also Jack and the Giant Peach. The similarities I found is when Coraline enters the world, it's like a tunnel, right? So it's like that sense of death that he's going into that tunnel. So it's like, you know, sort of I'm not gonna say it.
It's like a it's like a he's dying. It's like he's traveling.
Oh, no, it's the opposite. It's like going through a fucking vagina. They're giving.
Okay.
You made me say it. I thought you were gonna say it, but also like if you were to watch like Jack and the Giant Peach, when he first goes into the peach, he's going into like a similar fucking tunnel, and that tunnel like sequence, that's when he actually like because it's like real life action. So when you see like the silhouette of him like in real life action, as he's traveling to the tunnel, he's also like transitioning over to like his stop motion version of himself
That's one thing that all these movies have in common. There's a scene of the characters traveling.
in tunnel.
Specifically,
It's in tunnels.
Specifically, I mean Nightmare Before Christmas and Coraline. Coraline travels through that tunnel, that weird purple tunnel.
They're
Where
entering a different world that they're not.
exactly, and
Yeah.
exactly, and that's like when they take the boat in Mad Monster Party and take whatever means of transportation, they're transporting themselves to a different world. Coraline transporting herself to a different world. Jack transporting himself to a different world.
Yeah, I think that's what most movies are.
But for
They go,
stop animation, it means a lot more for some reason.
I guess. But I think it's true about most movies because they're going into a world that they're not familiar with. And at the end of it, they're the masters of those worlds.
Yeah, Avatar.
Matrix.
Except for Jack, he was just like, "Ah, fuck this."
No,
All
he
right,
had
man.
first people, and then he's all like, I'll give my life to a girl who's rich, and obviously there's still fucking space in that fucking door that was floating. Both of them could have floated there and fucking went away.
Yep.
Couple of like whatever.
All right, you got to sip on this. Let's make it quick because I got to get up.
All right, damn, damn, chill
Yeah,
out, chill out, bro.
it's only
Um,
it's only been 3 hours.
it's actually not been 3 hours. It's not been 3 hours. It's
Definitely
two.
has.
You're an idiot. All right, my sip on this. Okay, so I'm proud to present that I'm actually producing a short film through my school, and I'm right behind this student filmmaker, and I like the story that he had. And as I'm like working with him, he's also like he did a big change recently, and this is a story about like grief of having to like move out, having to come to acceptance, and having to show that expression through art. And I we definitely have something going on to make this in the works. Um, this is directed by Nick Stinson, and I'm producing it along with Marcus. Shout out to both of them. I'm definitely gonna have them on the show at one point. And this is a story that I think most of us could relate, but also it's like something that's like you know we want to bring out to the world and stuff. Through the challenges that we've been facing, we definitely gonna make this shit happen. This short film it's called Diamonds and Marigolds, and again, it's written and directed by Nick Stinson. And we have an Indiegogo running. At this point, we last time I checked, it was $800, but our main goal is to make it to 7,000. So if you guys could support, that'd be great because this is a project that we actually want to show not just to like our um, to the film school, but also like around the world. Put it through like different short film circuits, and it it's a film that is like very based on like culture and then where you're from, but it's also like a story about that's very humane.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm proud to actually be a part of this, and it's gonna turn out well. So all we need is like your support. Contribute whatever amount you got. We're doing it for the arts. This is a learning experience for all of us. And I really feel like this is going to be a really good product at the end of the day. So I'll show the links on the episode details, and I hope you guys like come out and support. And when it comes out, uh, I'm definitely gonna find a way to show it to you guys, or having to uh express my whole thoughts on the process on that, because yeah, it's definitely a journey for all of us in the
That
making.
sounds interesting.
There you
I'm
go.
interested. That sounds
Diamonds,
cool.
goals. Yeah,
Sweet. We'll see the development of that in future podcasts, I hope.
there you go. Yeah.
Um one of my things that I want to say, also along the lines of film, new Netflix series that I've been keeping up on, Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. I'm 2 episodes in. Pretty fucking dope. I've read some blogs on it, and everybody's saying like this is Guillermo del Toro's peak. Like this is everything that he's done is accumulated to be this series, to do this series. And after seeing Guillermo del Toro's actual um installation, it definitely feels like him. It feels like something dark, ominous, something of lore. A lot of thought put into these scripts. He's kind of doing the Mandalorian thing where he's having different directors direct each episode. But they're
Yeah.
all stories I feel like he's written alongside, you know, X amount of people, but you could definitely tell his influence is scattered all over this man. Like a lot of high detail in costuming, design, visual effects. It's all there, man. Like it's fucking awesome. And they only use the amount that they need for each episode. They're not going overboard with the visual effects. They're not going overboard with the costumes. They're not going overboard with this or that. It's like perfectly meant for that specific episode, and that's it. Like there's a lot to be told and a lot to be said, and I feel like with something like the Cabinet of Curiosities, it's almost like Creep Show.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There, it's different horror stories of different things that have been going on in Guillermo del Toro's mind, like the different objects in the cabinet specify a story, and you get to see the story unfold, and that's what you're watching in Cabinet of Curiosity. So like they'll bring an object out, and then it'll be like, well, take this. It's almost like Twilight Zone,
Yeah, yeah. And
right?
yeah.
So they kind of get an object, and they'll be like, well, this is a story behind this object, and then they go and like tell you the story. It's fucking
Yeah.
awesome. It really is kind of like a Twilight Zone, but more, way fucking creepier,
Yeah.
way more gory, way more visually um I don't want to, I mean, this is what I'll say. Don't watch this show while you eat.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of like creepy, gory kind of scenes that is just like, oh, I don't want to, I don't want to watch this while I eat. Kind of like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's rats coming out of mouths. There is limbs being chopped apart. Like it is very graphic. Like there is a
Yeah.
lot of gory, graphic details in it. But
You know,
some people like that shit. So
yeah. You know what show you shouldn't like eat while you're watching is the Jeffrey Dahmer show that on Netflix as well.
that one too. That's
Oh,
that's a
dude.
that's a whole nother ball game.
I tried to eat. I tried to watch that movie while I was like eating breakfast, and it's like I don't think this is a good idea. I'm gonna watch it at night.
Yeah, you're gonna end up eating somebody.
Yeah,
Like this kind of tastes like human.
it tastes like butt.
Well,
Another
I
great show.
mean, those are mine, but I mean, it's been great. I love talking about this stuff. Stop motion animation movies for me just bring back my childhood in general, So it's really
So,
dope to be able to do an episode specifically talking about stop motion animation movies. I know around Christmas we wanted to do another stop motion animation episode. So hopefully around December we'll be able to do and go more into depth with Night Before Christmas, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, maybe even Elf. We'll see what happens, But
yeah,
the best is yet to come.
yeah, definitely Nightmare. We need to explore that more
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah, man. Definitely this year.
Definitely not this year. It's gonna be next year.
All
Trust
right,
me.
well, hit the button, baby.
You motherfucker.
You know where you
Right.
can find us at? Golden Craftcast on IG, on also TikTok. You can find us on there. Haven't posted in a while, but we will. And now YouTube. We're fucking on YouTube. We're live streaming on YouTube. We'll probably do the next one like this as well, streaming it
Yeah.
live, right? Now that we
Tune,
figured out how to do it finally,
tune
we
in,
got the connection to do it. So, yeah.
tune in for our 100th episode and 100 more to come. So
100 episodes. Hold on to your brick. You hold on to your knickers.
yeah,
It's gonna be a treat. We don't know what it's gonna be. Maybe it should be a free for all. Who knows?
yeah, it is definitely. All right. I'll see y'all. Tune in for the next one and see you later.
Love, peace, and chicken grease.
Stay golden, my people.